राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे राम, राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय प्रभु पदा, जय प्रभु पदा, प्रभु पदा, जय प्रभु पदा। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे, निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते, गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी, वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we continue our discussions on the second verse of the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's recite the second verse. Dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayonmoolanam. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Parerishvaraha Sadyo Ridhyavarudyate Atra Kritibi Shushrushbish Takshanat. Please read the translation.
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Okay, so we discussed dharma projita ketavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. So that first line we have discussed how the Srimad Bhagavatam is understandable to those who are non-envious, 100% pure in heart. So we had elaborate discussion on that. Now, Vedyam Vastavam Vastu. Now, Srila Prabhupada writes further down in the purport, he talks about Karmakand, Jnanakand, Upasnakand. And after that, he says, the Srimad Bhagavatam is superior to all of these because it aims at the supreme truth, which is the substance or the root of all categories. From Srimad Bhagavatam, one can come to know the substance as well as the categories. The substance is the absolute truth, the supreme Lord, and all emanations are relative forms of energy. Nothing is apart from the substance, but at the same time, the energies are different from the substance. Okay, we already had elaborate discussion on this point, that how everything is Krishna, but Krishna is not everything. This conception is not contradictory. Srimad Bhagavatam explicitly promulgates the simultaneously one and different philosophy of the Vedanta Sutra, which begins with the Janmadhyasya Sutra. Okay, now Srila Prabhupada comments on this Vedyam Vastavam Vastu. Okay, please read.
It is said, Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon. There is Vastu. Vastu means Samambonam, original, and the Vastava, just like Krishna and his different energies. The different energies are called Vastava in relationship with Vastu, and Krishna is Vastu. So here it is said that Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu. Vastava, you can understand Krishna in all his features. And if you understand, then Shivadam, it is auspicious. Tapatrayo Unmulanam.
Okay, so Srila Prabhupada is saying the Vastu is Krishna and Vastavam is everything in relationship to Krishna. That means his various energies and paraphernalia and everything else. And so Srimad Bhagavatam is giving a whole description of both the Vastu, that is the Samam Bonam or the absolute truth. So we had that discussion in the beginning. Krishna is the absolute truth. He is not just God. He is absolute truth, the Samam Bonam, the complete whole. And so everything is in relationship with Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is describing everything that is Krishna and everything in relationship to Krishna. Everything is being described. When one properly understands all the subject matter, the result is Shivadam and Tapatrayon Moolanam. There is auspiciousness in one's life and one will be free from the miseries of material existence. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary on this part. Please read.
This permanent object, Vasta Vastu, includes the name, form, qualities of the Lord, his abodes, such as Vaikuntha, his devotees, and Bhakti, because other real object, Vastu, the things of this world, are not permanent. It should be understood that though both Vaikuntha and the material world are real, Vaikuntha is really a substantial Vastavam, and the material world is not. Unreal objects such as flower in the sky are called avastu. What will happen with the gaining this knowledge of a permanently real? It gives auspiciousness, Shivadam, in the form of becoming an associate of the Lord with a prema as the desired result. It gives release from the three miseries or liberation, tapatrayan moolanam, as the onslaught of result.
Unsought result.
Unsought
Unsought
result.
result matlab byproduct. That liberation is a byproduct of the practice of devotional service. But the main result of the practice of devotional service, pure devotional service, is given in the Bhagavatam is what? What? What is the actual result? Prema. And so that Shivadam, he is describing as basically prema, becoming an associate of the Lord with prema. That is the actual result of practicing pure devotional service. As far as mukti is concerned, mukti mukuladanjali sevate asman. So mukti is automatically achieved. Liberation from the material world, threefold miseries is automatically achieved, even without asking for it. So same thing, what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that basically Krishna and everything else in relationship to Krishna, name, form, qualities, abodes, Vaikuntha. So it's interesting, he distinguishes between the permanently real and the temporary real. So the Vaikuntha is permanently real. This material world is also real, but it is temporary. So that is avastav, avastu. He says avastu. So the vastu and everything in relationship to the vastu, vastavam vastu. So that is what the Srimad Bhagavatam is dealing with. That is the absolute truth, Krishna, and everything in relationship to Krishna. Okay. Now the next part of the verse is what? Vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va parer. So this beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam is explaining everything about the absolute truth and everything in relationship to the absolute truth. So if one understands the Srimad Bhagavatam, what need is there for any other scripture? And by understanding the Srimad Bhagavatam, what is the result? Ishvara, that is the Supreme Lord, the Ishvara Sadhyo, immediately, at once, Ridhi Avarudyate. Very interesting meaning Srila Prabhupada gives in the word-to-word translation of Avarudyate, becomes compact. Becomes compact. And we'll see Prabhupada's lecture on the verse. Prabhupada gives an even more interesting meaning. And so that is what happens by understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. Ishvara Sadhya Ridhi Avarudyate. So the Supreme Lord becomes compact within the heart. But for whom he does that? Kritibi and Shushushubi. Kritibi is by pious men and Shushushubi is by culture. Prabhupada translates that as by culture. We'll discuss that in a moment. So as far as okay. So Srila Prabhupada, in the next paragraph of his purport, he describes that how in the material conception one falsely thinks himself the Lord of all he surveys and therefore is always troubled by the threefold miseries of life. So the cause of miseries is thinking oneself the Lord of all I survey. The moment one understands I am Krishna Das, e Vishwas, Karle Tara Dukkanai. So when one wants to become free from the miseries, one has to give up this mentality, I am the Lord, and understand I am servant of Krishna. Then all the miseries finished. But as soon as one comes to know his real position as transcendental servant, he at once becomes free from all miseries. As long as the living entity is trying to master material nature, there is no possibility of his becoming servant of the Supreme. Service to the Lord is rendered in pure consciousness of one's spiritual identity. By service, one is immediately freed from material encumbrances. So that is Tapatrayon Mulanam, Prabhupada is explaining. And okay, now let's go to the next part. Mahamuni Krite Ishvara Sadhya Avarudyate. Please read Prabhupada's lecture.
If you, in need of making speculation, if you simply surrender to Vyasadeva, his writings, Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune Krite, then the result will be Kimba Parai. You do not require to study any other literature. The result will be, if you surrender to the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, that Ishvara, the Supreme Controller, Sadhya Hrudi Avaruddhyate. Ishwar is already there, but here it is used, the word Avaruddhyate. He is locked up.
Okay,
You-
so interesting meaning. Prabhupada is giving meaning of avaruddhiti as locked up. Hmm.
He wants to be locked up. Krishna Paramatma. He wants to be, but we do not care. But by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, by discourse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Ishvara Sadhya immediately Hrudi Avaruddhyate, but in whose heart he becomes locked up.
Continue.
Kritivi means those who are pious, those who are sinful, they cannot. Kritivi, Sustrubhi. Two things, he must be pious. That piety, as soon as he surrender, just like Krishna say, piety, it is not that then I have to become pious first of all. Then I shall understand Srimad Bhagavatam. So it will take long time. No. If you will take tat khanat in a second, how? Simple by surrender. As soon as you surrender, immediately you become pious. How immediately? Yes, Krishna say, Sarva Dharman Paritejya. Sarva Dharman. As soon as you surrender, Krishna, I was misled so long. Now, today, I am surrendering into yours, let us wait. Now, if you like, you kill me or protect me as you like, then everything is all right.
Yes. So that is the result of understanding and practicing the Srimad Bhagavatam. The result will be the Supreme Lord who's already there within the heart. He becomes locked up. That means he does not want to leave. But who can lock up the Supreme Lord who's Swarat? Supreme Lord is Swarat, correct? Then who can lock him up? So he agrees to become locked up. Not that somebody can lock him up. He agrees to become locked up. But in whose heart he agrees to become locked up? Kritibi and Shushushubi. So one who is pious, and Prabhupada is explaining who is pious. One who surrenders. One who surrenders immediately becomes pious. Not that first one has to become pious, then surrender. No, when one surrenders, one becomes pious. Sarvadharman Parityaja. That is the best way to become pious. And Shushushubi. Now we will discuss Shushushubi. As you can see in the word-to-word meaning, Prabhupada translates Shushrushvi as by culture. Now you see in the translation of the verse, Prabhupada says, as soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of the Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So right on the first day, we were talking about culture, right? And here Srila Prabhupada is talking about the culture of hearing Bhagavatam. So what is that culture of hearing Bhagavatam? Culture of knowledge, culture of receiving knowledge. What is that culture? Attentively and submissively. And Srila Prabhupada is further elaborating on that in the last paragraph of his purport. So please read the last paragraph, the proper method.
Last minute. Second last. Over and above this.
The proper method.
Okay, the proper method for receiving this transcendental message is to hear it submissively. A challenging attitude cannot help one realize this transcendental message. One particular word is used herein for proper guidance. This word is shushrushu. One must be anxious to hear this transcendental message. The desire to sincerely hear is the first qualification.
Complete.
Less fortunate persons are not at all interested in hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam. This process is simple, but the application is difficult. Unfortunate people find enough time to hear idle social and political conversations. But when invited to attend a meeting of devotees to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they suddenly become reluctant. Sometimes professional readers of the Bhagavatam immediately plunge into the confidential topics of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, which they seemingly interpret as sex literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning. Those who are fit to assimilate this work are mentioned in this shloka. One becomes qualified to hear Srimad Bhagavatam after many pious deeds. The intelligent person with thoughtful discretion can be assured by the great sage Vyasdev that he can realize the Supreme Personality directly by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam without undergoing the different stages of realization set forth in the Vedas. One can be lifted immediately to the position of Paramhamsa simply by agreeing to receive this message.
So here, Srila Prabhupada is talking about the culture of receiving the knowledge of the Bhagavatam. There are 5 points. Prabhupada is speaking about this culture of hearing Bhagavatam. What are the 5 points? The first one is hear it submissively. That is the first point. Hear submissively. So what is meaning of submissive hearing? Huh? वो दूसरा point है. वो next point है. Challenging attitude. What is meaning of submissive? That's right. So submissive means, yes, I don't know anything. So we all know the story. Srila Prabhupada told the story of the Mridanga teacher. 2 students who went to the Mridanga teacher. Everyone knows the story, correct? So for one student, he charged more. Why? Because something had to be erased and then new thing had to be taught. So double work. So double fees. So similarly, so if one thinks I already know, then that is not a good platform for learning. Srila Prabhupada gave another example, just like if the glass is already full, then you cannot fill more. It's already full. So if somebody thinks, I already know everything. So if somebody is, so Srila Prabhupada in one lecture he says, so if somebody is going to a teacher or a spiritual master with the attitude, I already know, then Srila Prabhupada says, then it's useless. Better don't waste your time and don't waste teacher's time. But the right mood in which a student should approach the teacher is as shown by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he approached his spiritual master Ishwar Puri, what was his attitude? Yes, I am simply fool number 1. So when one has that attitude that I do not know anything, and that is what is also shown by Sanatana Goswami. When Sanatana Goswami approached Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what was his attitude? Even though he was a great Pandit, scholar, but when he approached, Kiyami, Kiniyamai, Japat Tapatrai. So he's saying, who am I? Who am I? So he didn't know who he was. Definitely he knew everything. But still, he's presenting himself as a fool before the spiritual master. So that is the right platform to learn. So the more one is in that submissive attitude that I don't know anything, the more one will absorb, just like a sponge. If the sponge is already saturated with water, it can't absorb much more. So similarly, if one is like a blank slate, I don't know anything. So then one will be able to absorb whatever is being said. Just like today morning, His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj was speaking about Yamuna Mataji. Just reminded me of one of her pastimes. So when there was Kumbh Mela, 1974 or 7, one of the years, both the years Srila Prabhupada went. So when they were there, so these 2 Matajis, Kaushalya Mataji and Yamuna Mataji. So every day, Kumbh Mela takes place now, right? January time. And now it's mid-Feb actually. It was January time. And it was in Prayagraj. You're from Prayagraj, right? So how warm it is in January? I know. So it's very cold, very cold. So, but yet, when Srila Prabhupada was there, so these two Matajis would wake up early in the morning, 1:30, 2 o'clock. They would wake up, take bath in the Yamuna, in the Sangam. They would take bath, and then in the cold water, come back, and they would finish all their chanting, because that time Srila Prabhupada was giving his classes at around 6:30, 7, something like that, early. So that after that, then devotees could be free for preaching. So they wanted to make sure that before they attended Srila Prabhupada's lecture, they had completed all their chanting, everything else. So that when they're sitting there for the class, they're totally focused. No distraction. So that was their determination. And of course, Yamuna Mataji was very well known for being so eager to hear every word what Srila Prabhupada spoke. When sometimes Srila Prabhupada would be singing bhajans alone in his room, no one would be there. Prabhupada would be singing alone with his harmonium. But Yamuna Mataji would be sitting outside the room just to hear those bhajans, totally absorbed. So that's submissiveness, being so eager to hear. So why? Because the attitude is, I don't know. So then therefore then one is eager to hear. So that is submissive. So then the opposite is challenging attitude. That's what should not be there. There's a second point. Challenging attitude cannot help one realize this transcendental message. So the second point in this culture of hearing is an absence of a challenging attitude. So the challenging attitude means, oh, I already know. Let's see how much this person knows. So that's a challenging attitude. So if one has a challenging attitude, then one cannot learn. The third point is proper guidance. Proper guidance. And Srila Prabhupada very often spoke about that, and we'll see in the next verse also. And that is receiving the message from the right source, the right bona fide source, not here and there, just because it is attractive to hear, just because there's a lot of spiritual entertainment. No, not for those reasons. So right source, proper guidance. And the fourth point is anxious to hear, eager to hear. In another purport, Prabhupada writes, many places Prabhupada writes about this, eagerness to hear, eager. So the example is given there, just like in Ayurveda, it is said that what is the symptom of good digestion? Yes, hunger. So in Ayurveda, they say, eat only when you're hungry. Because if you're hungry and you eat, what will happen? Good digestion and absorption. So similarly, there must be hunger to hear, hunger to hear. So if there's hunger to hear, eagerness to hear, then everything will be absorbed and digested. Just like today morning, Maharaj was asking, are you able to digest? After he gave his answer. So after hearing, there must be digestion and absorption. Otherwise, it will simply pass off without having the necessary effect. And so therefore, to the degree one has that hunger, to the degree the eagerness is there to hear, then to that degree, one will be able to actually understand, assimilate, and realize the knowledge. And it is that realized knowledge that one can actually apply in one's life. And the fifth point of this culture of hearing is the desire to sincerely hear is the first qualification. So what is the meaning of sincerely hear? Okay, good. with the motive of applying in one's own life. What else? Sincerely hear. Yes, without any ulterior motives. Not that I want to hear because I can impress someone with this knowledge. Not because I'll get some spiritual entertainment. Not because, okay, I can repeat some things. Okay, not so bad, but still, not, that should not be the only goal. So without any ulterior motive. So sincerely here means I'm hearing because this is going to be pleasing to Guru and Krishna. That's all. Srila Prabhupada has taken so much trouble to write these books. He wanted us to read them. Therefore, we are discussing them. And by doing so, Srila Prabhupada will be pleased. That's all. It's not to become a big Pandit. If you become, no problem. But that's secondary. But the main goal is, I want to please Srila Prabhupada because he has given us these books. Therefore, we're trying to reciprocate with him by trying to study these books. And of course, we already discussed so many quotes of Srila Prabhupada where he has given us instructions that we should be scrutinizingly studying his books. And so therefore, to follow that instruction of Srila Prabhupada and please him, therefore, we are studying. So it does not matter how much we understand, how much we don't understand, how much we can repeat, that's all secondary. But the main thing is we want to please Guru and Krishna. That's the main thing. So if we have any other motives, then we won't be able to actually get the full benefit. Then we'll get limited benefit. But if we have this goal that I want to please, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's giving class. It doesn't matter how much I gain. It doesn't matter how much I don't gain. All that doesn't matter because just the fact that, yes, I'm studying Srila Prabhupada's books, that is sufficient. Okay. So these are the 5 points of culture of hearing. So when these aspects of the culture, this is a culture, we already discussed elaborately on what's culture. It's a culture. And so whose responsibility is to create this culture? Whose responsibility? Yes, it's individual responsibility. It's individual responsibility. It's not that we wait for somebody else to do it. So even Srila Prabhupada quoted Mahatma Gandhi. What? Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change. You be the change first. Don't say they are not doing, they are not doing, they are not doing. No, let me do it. Then I bring about the change. Right. So usually we always find that change always begins with one person. One person wanted to bring about a change, then so many things take place. Srila Prabhupada was one Indian, one old Indian, as Srila Prabhupada himself says, one old Indian, but he wanted to bring about a change. You see what change he has brought about in the world. So everything begins with me. What am I going to do about it? So if I want to bring about a change, then I will be able to do it. So that's the culture that we need to inculcate in our own lives, and by that inspire others to do so. And if we adopt this culture, what will be the result? Avarudyate. Then the result will be avarudyate. The Lord will become locked up. Why will he become locked up? He's pleased. He's pleased by that culture of the devotee. He's pleased by the culture of devotion. So because he's pleased, he agrees to become locked up within the hearts. And that's how one realizes the Supreme Lord. Okay. Another significant point, Prabhupada writes in the next paragraph, somebody has to give a purport to it. The process is simple, but the application is difficult. Yes, any thoughts? Process is simple, application is difficult. It appears to be difficult. Why? ठीक है, ठीक है. Okay, good. What else? Yes, Shrigor. Okay.
Prabhupada tells it is process is simple for the simple but complex for the complex. Because we have a complex mind and we have been raised in a complex society. So because of that, it appears actually it is simple, but it appears very complex because of our own.
Okay, good, good. Something more, Rajat? Okay, it requires conscious endeavor. That's also correct. Something more? No, somebody else?
It is also simple if we will follow the instruction properly, but because of the mind is the whole problem.
So cut it and throw it.
Right, we will dovetail it slowly, gradually.
Gradually. ठीक है. हाँ.
Process is simple. Difficult part is we are not developing relationship to Guru.
Not developing relationship with
Guru.
Guru. Okay.
That is the main part.
Okay, that's correct. That's also correct. Yes. Manish Bhai wants to say something.
Prabhupada said that in one purport he writes that if one is sincere, this process is very simple. But one who is not sincere will find very difficult.
Correct. Yes, that's also true. So, process is simple. As Prabhupada says, even child can do it. Even child can do it. Even child can chant the holy names. I know. Process is simple, nothing difficult. Chanting, feasting, dancing. That's what we tell people, correct? That's how we all came. Chant and be happy. Only chant, dance, have prasad. So simple. So like that, we also got trapped and we trap others also like that only. Correct? Chandan Prabhu, you preach like that only, na? So you preach only eating, huh? Very nice. No chanting also. So, and in some lectures, Prabhupada says, see, if you're convinced that one simply has to chant Hare Krishna, then that's fine. You don't have to read the books also. But if you think why this nonsense chanting, then you read the books. So the whole problem is where? The whole problem, as Prabhupada is saying, one moment, right? As soon as you surrender, before that, Tatshanats, in a second, twice, in a second. How? Simply by surrender. But that is the difficult part. The surrender is the difficult part. That is what is difficult. Because we have something which is very complicated that is called ahankar, by which we misidentify ourselves with the body and the mind. Ahankar, I am Mr. So-and-so who's so important. And so when somebody says, do this, why should I do? I'm such an important person. You think you can order me so easily like this? So morning, Maharaj was telling in the class about how Delhi preaching started. There was that Mr. Gupta who met Srila Prabhupada on the station and said, please send someone to start a center. And Prabhupada told these devotees, Gurudas Prabhu, Yamuna Mataji, Giraj Maharaj, Vakta Bruce, that is Bhanuswami Maharaj, and Gopal, right? These two. Prabhupada, there is, just get down, and go with this man. Think about it. और ऐसा नहीं कि वहां एक बहुत बड़ा मंदिर है, सब फैसिलिटीज हैं, बस खाओ, जाओ, खाओ, पियो. There is no idea where to stay, where to get the next meal, what will happen, nobody knows. But they didn't ask a second question. Maharaj was saying, Prabhupada gave him 50 rupees, Guru Das 50 rupees, and said, at least I would have said, अरे 50 rupees से क्या होगा? अब 5,000 तो दे. But no questions asked. They just got down. Now that was their surrender. And as Maharaj was telling, this Yamuna Mataji, only Mataji, only lady, all others men. No, she could have said, "Hey, what is this? At least send one more lady." No. No questions asked. So this surrender is so glorious. That is the perfection of life. So how much Shastra these devotees are able to speak, it's totally immaterial, because they have achieved the perfection of all the Shastra. And that is surrender. That is the perfection. So we are struggling with all this to reach that stage only. But those devotees, most probably in their previous lives, they finished all this. Therefore, they are able to come to that stage of surrender. So that is what makes the application difficult. Because we don't have that level of surrender. And there are so many obstacles in that surrender. Otherwise, it is simple. Otherwise, it is very simple. But then, of course, we are not encouraging blind following. Srila Prabhupada has written in 434 purport, blind following and absurd inquiries both are condemned. So it's not that we're encouraging blind following, but at the same time, after some clarification, then one must be able to follow, one must be able to surrender and try one's best. But that is the reason why the application is difficult. And I think so we all have our experiences in that connection. But the more we let go of the false ego. So anyway, just today I was hearing a lecture, and so there one devotee asked a question. So this is the greatest obstacle, one of the greatest obstacles in a practice of devotional service is ahankar. So how to get rid of this ahankar? So again, the answer was very simple. So the answer was that want to get rid of, so ahankar is like a disease. And what is the medicine? Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given the medicine. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in a song, he says, what is that? Enechi Aushadhi? The medicine is, Aushad is Harinam. Very simple, right? That is the medicine for the disease. The medicine is ahankar. And what is the process to take the medicine? That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told. Trinadapi suni chena, tarorapi saishna, manina manadena, kirtaniya sadar. So simple, right? And how to follow that? How to follow that was Gopir Bartur Padakamalyor Das 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 Anudas. Finish. Ankar finished. Simply become Das 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 Anudas. But the problem is we have come here to become what? See, every opposite. So this is a total 360 degrees turn. We have come here to become boss, and here you say you become Das. Hurry. So that's the whole problem. That's the whole problem. But then, so that is what we need to make that sincere effort. A sincere effort to become, to follow this Das Das Anudas. ठीक है. Whether I like it or not, let me try. Let me try. So manager is giving some instruction. Let me try, follow, even though it may be difficult. So that's the training. That's the training. Yesterday also we were hearing Brahmachari Gurukule Vasandanto Guror Hitam Acharan Dasavad Nicho. So if you remember how Prabhupada is translating Dasavad? Yes, slave. Slave means what? Gulam. अभी गुलामी नहीं है, अभी आजादी है. आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव. So that's what everyone is thinking. I'm azad, free. So, but then that's brahmachari training for. Brahmachari training is meant for what? To become slave. So till now we have been slaves of mind and senses. Now we have to become slaves of Guru. Yes. So slave mentality has to continue. Only whose slave? That is the difference. Otherwise, slave mentality remains the same. Somebody's slave one has to become. But then that's the difficult part. To make that change from slave of the mind and the senses to slave of Krishna, Guru and Krishna, to make that change, that is what makes the application difficult. But if we simply agree to do that, then it becomes easy. If we simply agree to do that, if we simply develop that, that's the ultimate solution. If we simply try to follow that Das Das Anudas, if we simply try to follow that, the whole problem is dissipated. Then the process becomes very simple. ठीक है? सेवा दिया गया, बस वो सेवा करो. बस. Very simple. Then everything in Krishna consciousness becomes very simple. That's a fact. माइक दे दो उनको. अभी आगे बढ़ना है.
Proji, because in practical life, Proji, that another Das to whom we become Das Anudas, that so in the process of becoming Das Anudas, the another Das, he may demand something which is not be very pure devotion. So in that scenario, we still become Das Anudas because he is demanding something that is not very pure devotional.
So therefore, we are not saying blind following. As long as something is within the parameters of Guru Sadhu Shastra, it's fine. If something is going out of those parameters, definitely there's a scope for discussion, consultation, all that can be there. But if it is something within the parameters of Guru Sadhu Shastra, then one can follow.
त्राणदपि वाला प्रिंसिपल देखो जाएगा अगर आप
क्या?
then the principle of त्राणदपि सुनिचेना, how does it apply then?
Yes, it still applies because I'm trying to clarify so that I can properly follow. The process of clarification is not a challenge, but it is for better application. That is the mood. Because you're giving an instruction, now I don't have full faith. So in order to increase my faith, I am seeking a clarification so that I can properly apply. That is the mood. Not a challenging mood. So that is appropriate. But of course, it should not be done for every small thing. ऐसा नहीं कि हर एक छोटी चीज पर ऐसा क्यों? ऐसा क्यों? Not like that. ठीक है, there's some major problem, वो ठीक है. But in general, the mood should be to follow. That's how one progresses. Of course, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj in the early days of the Brahmacharya ashram at Chowpatty, maybe some of you have heard, had given very strong instructions to brahmacharis. Anybody heard? And I'll say only one statement what he said. He said, the moment a brahmachari says no to any instruction, that will be the last day in the ashram. That was the statement he made. Whoever is giving instruction, whoever. And he went on to say that even if one is suffering from high fever and is on the deathbed, still one should not say no. So, very high standard. But then that's basically what is brahmachari training for. So that's yesterday we were reading, na? The Vedic standard of brahmacharya. Cannot eat until the Guru calls. And if the Guru forgets to call, fast. That was the Vedic standard. So, therefore, one must understand that, see, what we're trying to achieve is a very lofty thing. It's not something cheap. It is not IIT entrance exam. One thing, the IIT entrance exam is very tough, right? Bhakti is much more easier. But what is gained by IIT entrance? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending, nothing more. And what is gained by bhakti? हाँ, वो तो प्रोसेस हो गया. प्रयोजन क्या है? So our goal is not even within the material universe. It is crossing the material universe into the Paravyom, into the spiritual sky. गोलोक वृंदावन कहाँ पर है? हाँ, बहुत दूर है. तो आसान कैसे? So it can't be easy. So people are ready to spend gallons of blood for IIT entrance. Then why not here? People think, oh, that's difficult. But bhakti, this should be easy. So where's the comparison? For that, one is ready to work so hard, but when one comes to bhakti, one thinks it should be easy. Where's the logic? Where is the logic? Which goal is higher? then if something high has to be achieved, the process should be more difficult, na? So just like if one wants to get into IIT, then so much difficulty. One wants to get into uh, some uh, uh, some altu faltu college, then very easy, correct? One doesn't have to work so hard. So then higher the goal, higher the endeavor. So then on bhakti, we have such a high goal, and yet we think this should be easier than IIT entrance. Where is the logic? Huh? Where is the logic? So therefore, the Vedic standard was so high, so strict. We all know the story of Upamanyu and all the stories we know. So, in the Vedic times, it was very strict. Now, of course, by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the process has become easier, but still, the proper attitude for executing the process still remains the same. That's what Mahaprabhu showed. The attitude for the process still remains the same. So, the process has been made easier. So, therefore, one has to pay the price. One has to pay the price. There is no alternative to it. And the price is keep the ahankar aside. Keep the ahankar aside. Otherwise, process will be difficult, even though Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made it easy. So then when the ahankar comes, and I'm sure everybody remembers Gaurang Prabhu's story of the brahmachari who didn't want to make chapatis. Correct? So that's ahankar. I'm an educated person. I came from IIT. Why should I bake chapatis? So then what? So we know. So he left the ashram. So that's why you're in the kitchen, huh? Better make. ठीक है आगे बढ़ेंगे. Read this.
The Bhagavatam, Atra, which is most auspicious, Srimad, the Lord Ishvara, the shelter of all else, Sri Krishna, is immediately brought under control and captured, avarudyate, in the heart by the accomplished persons, Kritibhi. The persons devoid of selfishness, Nirmatsaranam.
Nirmatsaranam. Okay, so that's also, he's bringing that qualification also, which is needed to capture the Lord. Nirmatsaranam. Okay.
Who are mentioned in the verse as being qualified for this scripture. This indicates that prem arises in the devotees since the Lord is brought under control only by prema. Pranay Rashanaya Dhritangri Padmaha. The Lord's lotus feet are tied by the ropes to the devotee.
So just like the Lord told Durvasa Muni, I'm aswatantra. I have given my swatantra to the devotees. Yes.
Krishna enters the hearts of even those who have suddenly developed the desire to hear from the moment they begin listening. Since they develop the desire to hear from that moment, even before having faith, it means that they develop prema simply by hearing Bhagavatam. Then how much more quickly they would develop prema if they begin hearing with faith? Tatshanat can also mean because of Krishna's tat merriment of or festival, Shanat. he becomes caught in the devotee's heart.
Okay, so when the devotee is very eager, anxious, sincere in his practice of devotional service, for Krishna it is festival. So Krishna is very happy. Why? Why Krishna is happy? Huh? Because Krishna thinks, oh, after so many millions and millions of lifetimes, finally this jiva is coming back home. तो पिताजी को कैसे लगेगा? वापस आ रहा है. कैसे लगेगा पिताजी? So that is why it is festival for him. He's so happy.
Since Krishna becomes supremely blissful by being trapped in the heart filled with prema, this also indicates that Krishna is happy and filled with prema when the devotee hear Bhagavatam.
Okay, so all of you are sitting and hearing, Krishna must be dancing. He must be so happy that so many people are hearing Bhagavatam. This result is not achieved by any other scripture or other practices. Kim va pare.
In this work, what is recommended action to be undertaken? It vehemently rejects Rojita, that path which cheats, which deceives a person from the real goal. In other words, Sakama Karma is rejected. The prefix pra completely indicates that path promising liberation is also rejected. Nishkama Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, with its limbs of sense and mind control, and Ashtanga Yoga are also rejected. But Paramadharma, pure Bhakti Yoga, is to be performed. It is called Parama or Supreme because Bhakti is the best process, because it gives all types of happiness, material happiness, liberation, and prema, and because even though it bestows the lesser benedictions, it remains uncontaminated. Thus, this verse shows the action to be performed, Abhideya Tattva. It will be shown later that anyone who is a human being can perform bhakti.
Okay, so essentially the second verse is talking about the Abhideya Tattva. First verse is like Sambandha, the Sambandha Gyan about the supreme absolute truth and our relationship. The second verse is Abhideya Tattva and the third verse is Prayojan in the prelude or the introduction. Fine, so now we're going to the third verse. निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रव संयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकः. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukdev Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, though its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Okay, let's read the first two paragraphs of the purport.
In the two previous shlokas, it has been definitely proved that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the sublime literature which surpasses all other Vedic scriptures due to its transcendental qualities. It is transcendental to all mundane activities and mundane knowledge. In this shloka, it is stated that Srimad Bhagavatam is not only a superior literature, but is the ripened fruit of all Vedic literatures. In other words, it is the cream of all Vedic knowledge. Considering all this, patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. With great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lesson imparted by Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedas are compared to the desire tree because they contain all things knowable by man. They deal with mundane necessities as well as spiritual realization. The Vedas contain regulative principles of knowledge covering social, political, religious, economic, military, medicine, chemical, physical, and metaphysical subject matter, and all that may be necessary to keep the body and soul together. Above and beyond all this are a specific direction for spiritual realization. Regulative knowledge involves a gradual raising of the living entity to the spiritual platform, and the highest spiritual realization is the knowledge that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual taste or rasa.
Okay, so here in the first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is repeating the culture of hearing that we were discussing in the previous verse. Prabhupada is continuing that, and he says that patient and submissive hearing. So he's added here one more word. What is that? Patient, because the effect, the results take time, and with great respect and attention. So here, Nigama Kalpa Taror Galitam Phalam. So Nigama refers to all the Vedic literature. So all the Vedic literatures are compared to Kalpataro, desire tree, because all the various branches of knowledge, whatever knowledge one wants, material, spiritual, whatever one wants, everything is there. So therefore it is compared to Kalpataru. And the Galitam Phalam, the mature fruit of this tree, is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam is presenting what? The knowledge of the personality of Godhead, who is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. As the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says, Akhila Rasamrita Murti, the embodiment of all rasas. So that is the highest knowledge that one can achieve, the highest knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so therefore, Srila Prabhupada is further describing about rasa tattva. So he's talking about the 12 rasas, the entire list he's giving. And then he's saying the sum total of all these rasas is called affection of or love. So basically he's describing about rasa. And then in the next paragraph, he says, the Supreme Personality of God is therefore described in the Shruti Mantras, Vedic hymns, as the fountainhead of all rasas. And we all know in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu there, the example is given. So which is the pastime where Krishna exhibited this, how he is the embodiment of all rasas. Yes, in Mathura, when Krishna and Balram entered the wrestling arena, then we see how so many different people, they were relating with Krishna in different rasas. So that's why he's called as the fountainhead of all rasas. When one associates with the Supreme Lord and exchanges one's constitutional rasa with the Lord, then the living being is actually happy. Okay, so till the point one does not establish one's relationship with the Supreme Lord, one cannot be happy. When the relationship is established, the soul becomes totally happy. These Shruti mantras indicate that every living being has its constitutional position, which is endowed with a particular type of rasa to be exchanged with the personality of Godhead. So with every jiva, the Supreme Lord exchanges a particular type of rasa. That is unlimited variety for the Supreme Lord to enjoy. And so we are all meant for his enjoyment. Okay. And so when we exchange that particular rasa with the Supreme Lord, then the Lord becomes totally satisfied, and that's how we also become satisfied. In the liberated condition only, this primary rasa is experienced in full. Okay, so in the liberated state, the rasa is experienced in full. In the material existence, the rasa is experienced in perverted form, which is temporary. So here also all rasas are there. Correct? So Prabhupada explains in one purport that how here in the material world also all rasas are there. So we exchange shantaras with whom? Yes, with all these various objects. The laptop, the mobile. So there's rasa, right? There is some exchange of rasa there. So can't live these days without mobile. So there's some rasa there. Of course, that rasa is increasing these days. Shantaras. So why? Because all the other rasas are decreasing. So shantaras is increasing. So that is called progress. So shantaras is there. Then dasyaras, sakyaras, all rasas are there in the material world. But all these are perverted. Therefore, they are yes, they lead to misery, frustrating, because they are all perverted. But then when one exchanges the original rasa with the Supreme Lord, that leads to full satisfaction. Okay, fine. So that's all about rasa and the Supreme Lord. So this is why the Srimad Bhagavatam is Galitam Phalam, the mature fruit, because the Srimad Bhagavatam is describing the Supreme Lord with all these various rasas which he exchanges with his devotees. So this is the main subject matter of the Bhagavatam, and therefore it is Galitam Phalam. Then he further explains Shukamukad Amrita Darava Samyutam Shukamukad. So that's what Prabhupada is discussing in the next, of course, that point Prabhupada is describing in great detail. Almost the rest of the purport is essentially describing this point, Shukamukad. Okay, please read the next paragraph in the shloka. In this shloka, it is definitely stated that that spiritual rasa, which is relished even in the liberated stage.
In this shloka, it is definitely stated that spiritual rasa, which is relished even in the liberated stage, can be experienced in the literature of the Srimad Bhagavatam due to its being the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. By submissively hearing this transcendental literature, one can attain the full pleasure of his heart's desire. But one must be very careful to hear the message from the right source. Srimad Bhagavatam is exactly received from the right source. It was brought by Narad Muni from the spiritual world and given to his disciple Sri Vyasdev. The latter in turn delivered the message to his son Srila Sukdev Goswami, and Srila Sukdev Goswami delivered the message to Maharaj Parikshit just 7 days before the king's death. Srila Sukdev Goswami was a liberated soul from his very birth. He was liberated even in the womb of his mother, and he did not undergo any sort of spiritual training after his birth. At birth, no one is qualified, neither in the mundane nor in the spiritual sense. But Sri Sukdev Goswami, due to his being perfectly liberated soul, did not have to undergo an evolutionary process for spiritual realization. Yet, despite his being a completely liberated person situated in the transcendental position above the three material modes, he was attracted to this transcendental rasa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by liberated souls who sing Vedic hymns. The Supreme Lord's pastimes are more attractive to liberated souls than to mundane people. He is of necessity not im- he is of necessity not impersonal, because it is only possible to carry on transcendental rasa with a person.
Okay, fine. So here is describing that how the message must be received in bona fide parampara. And that's what he continues explaining further down also. Now, this Shukamukhat, in Sanskrit, the parrot is also known as Shuka. When a ripened fruit is cut by the red beaks of such birds, its sweet flavor is enhanced. And what is the experience of that? Good. The Vedic fruit, which is mature and ripe in knowledge, is spoken through the lips of Srila Shukadev Goswami, who is compared to the parrots, not for his ability to recite the Bhagavatam exactly as he heard it from his learned father, but for his ability to present the work in a manner that would appeal to all classes of men. That is called what? Realization. That is called realization. And we will discuss this in more details in the first verse of the 4th chapter. Prabhupada beautifully describes what is realization. But this is what is meant by realization. So every person of the parampara makes the subject matter easily understandable to the people at that time. So because he has properly understood, digested the subject matter, therefore he is able to present it in a way that is understandable by the people. So this is called realization. So when one understands the subject matter properly, then he is able to present it properly in a way that people can understand. So it is not simply repetition. It's not simply repetition. But of course, Srila Prabhupada did encourage even that. But then we see, just like Srila Prabhupada presented the same message of the Acharyas. But how does he present it? One thing is English language, but more than that? Yes, with relevant examples, analogies, contemporary points, so many things Prabhupada adds in his purports, which you don't find in the previous Acharya's commentaries. Yeah, so many things. He speaks about science, he speaks about history, geography. So many things Prabhupada speaks about. So many things. And so many stories. So many things. And that is how the subject matter becomes more relevant. And that is why Srila Prabhupada's books became so popular. Because people are able to relate to the message. We see Prabhupada speaking about wars, slaughtering of animals, atomic bombs, so many things which are relevant for the modern age. And therefore, when people read these books, they can relate to them. So every member of the parampara, he adds his realizations to make the subject matter relevant for the current audience. And that is the meaning of Shukamukhat. That is how Shukdev Goswami made the subject matter more relevant, and everyone down the parampara makes the subject matter more relevant. Okay, that's why it becomes Amrita. That is how it becomes Amrita. Amrita, Drava Sanyutam. Drava means, Prabhupada translates Drava as semi-solid and soft and therefore easily swallowable. Yes, mango pulp. Just like mango pulp. So it becomes like Amrit, very relishable, because it is coming from the right source. And then in the next paragraph, Prabhupada is adding this point that how the ripened fruit is not dropped all of a sudden from the highest plant of Krishna Loka. Rather, it has come down carefully through the chain of disciplic succession without change or disturbance. So there is no change in the essential philosophy. The Siddhanta remains the same, but the presentation of the philosophy is in a way that is easily understandable. Okay. So that is how it becomes highly relishable. And then Srila Prabhupada further goes on to explain how one should not listen to the professional reciters. As we know the famous verse from Sanatana Goswami, what? Avaishnava mukodgirnam puta hari kadamritam shravanam na kartavyam sarpochishta yathapaya. So just like milk touched by the lips of a serpent, it still looks like milk. But the effect takes place when one drinks. So similarly, it may appear like same Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. And so sometimes even our ISKCON devotees get bewildered. Huh? So sometimes our ISKCON devotees also hear from here and there. हाँ बोर हो गया ना ISKCON में वही सुनकर. हाँ थोड़ा और मसाला चाहिए, नेक्टर. हाँ थोड़ा और नेक्टर चाहिए. यहाँ तो क्या है, बार बार वही चीज है. हाँ. So therefore, sometimes devotees innocently hear. क्या होगा, थोड़ा सुनेंगे तो क्या होगा? कुछ नहीं होगा, थोड़ा सुन लेंगे, क्या है? हाँ. टीवी में भी होता है ना ये वो. हाँ. So, but then one should understand that it is highly detrimental. One doesn't understand how the effect takes place. It's like poison. Even poison's effect sometimes doesn't take place immediately. Dheere, 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 dheere. So therefore one has to be extremely careful what one reads, what one hears. One should be extremely careful. And so otherwise, enough examples within our own society of devotees who are hearing from this one, that one, Radhakund Baba, so many Babas and Bapus, and so many people. And then we see that even some senior devotees, very senior devotees, the example is right here in Pune. We don't take names. But the example was there. So senior devotees with many followers have left. Why? Same reason, hearing from the wrong source. So one should be extremely careful. Therefore, Prabhupada spends, you see, that entire paragraph Prabhupada is writing only about this. And then again, Prabhupada writes, one should conclude, therefore, that the serious student of the Rasa should receive the message of Bhagavatam, the chain of disciplic succession from Srila Shukdev Goswami, who describes the Bhagavatam from its very beginning and out whimsically to satisfy the mundaner who has very little knowledge in transcendental science. Srimad Bhagavatam is so carefully presented that a sincere and serious person, who? Sincere and serious. Prabhupada has used these two words very often, both in purports and lectures. Sincere and serious. Can at once enjoy the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge simply by drinking the nectarian juice from the mouth of Shukdev Goswami or his bona fide representative. Okay, so now, so this subject matter has become so relishable, it has become like juice. So what one has to do? Pibata. It is said pibata, pibata, pina. One should drink it. Drink. Prabhupada, do relish it. So one should drink the juice, relish it. Till when? Pibata Bhagavatam. Now, very interesting. In the word to word meaning, Prabhupada translates so beautifully. Bhagavatam, again, Prabhupada says the book dealing in the science of the eternal relation with the Lord. That's Bhagavatam. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam. So it's a juice which is relishable. Till when one should drink? Alayam. Alayam. Till liberation. And after liberation? Yes, after liberation, then one naturally drink. Because one has already got the higher taste. Then one will naturally drink. But at least till liberation, as an austerity, one has to drink. Always, muhu, 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 aho, rasika, those who are full in the knowledge of mellows, bhuvi bhavuka, expert in the art for men. Okay, fine. So we'll see. Vishwanath Chakravarti gives quite an interesting commentary on this part of the verse. Pibata bhagavata rasamalayam. Okay, read.
Kalita means that it falls down on its own accord when ripened on the tree, not by force.
Yes, not by artificial ripening. Because when it naturally ripens, what happens? It's more sweet. तो आजकल बहुत मुश्किल है ऐसे फल मिलना. सब artificial.
Thus, it is completely full of sweetness. Even after falling from a high position in the tree, it does not break, nor does it lose its sweetness. That is because it comes down from the highest position, from Narayana to the branch of Brahma, then to the lower branch of Narada, then to Vyasa, and finally to the mouth of sugar. Thus, without being damaged, it is endowed with liquid sweetness like honey. The parrot Shuka has even made an opening in the fruit with his beak for bringing out the sweetness. Moreover, having been tasted by him, that fruit becomes even sweeter. Moreover, it remains unbroken, coming down step by step from the branch of Sutta and others. What is implied here is that without the Guru Parampara, one cannot drink Bhagavatam in its unbroken form, just by trying to taste it through use of one's limited intelligence.
And that's an important point, no? One cannot drink Bhagavatam in its unbroken form just by trying to taste it through the use of one's limited intelligence. So if one is simply trying to understand Bhagavatam with one's intelligence without following the parampara and without following the process given by the parampara, tadviddi pranipatena pariprashnena sevai. That's the process. So one doesn't follow the process and one by one's intelligence, one simply trying to get an intellectual understanding of Bhagavatam. One may get some intellectual understanding, but one will not be able to relish the Bhagavatam, nor will one be able to realize the actual subject matter of the Bhagavatam. So therefore, following the parampara is important. Continue.
How should the fruit be consumed? That is explained. One should drink it, for this fruit is the essence of taste, rasam, devoid of skin, seed, and other objectionable parts. Lay means
Right.
liberation.
It's just like the mango which Mahaprabhu, you know that pastime, right? No seed, no skin. So the Bhagavatam also is like that.
Lay means liberation, sayujya, or attaining the conditions of salokya, shashti, samipya, and sarupya. The word alayam, that means that the fruit extends beyond this type of liberation. Because Bhagavatam is famous for glorifying the Lord's pastimes, or lay can refer to the eighth satvika bhav called pralaya fainting. One should drink until one develops the 8 symptoms up to the final one, fainting. Though one will not be able to drink the nectar when one has fainted, when the fainting wears off, one again awakens to consciousness and begins drinking until one faints again.
Yes. So till that time one should drink. Continue drinking till one faints. So the class should go on till one faints. Of course, here another type of fainting will take place. Here also fainting will take place. Not Ashta Satvik. Here another type of fainting will take place. But in any case, either case is good. Okay.
One cannot give up drinking. Thus, the word muhur continuous is used, or muhur can have another meaning. Though one has drunk it by again drinking it, one develops more relish for it.
That's also an important point. Though one has drunk it, but again drinking it, one develops more relish for it.
This is surprising.
So sometimes devotees also, they feel, अरे एक बार पढ़ लिया, अभी छोड़ दो. Now we should read some other books. No, that's not right. So scriptures are meant to be read again and again. There's one verse in the 7th canto, Ideal Family Life. Narad Muni is speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So there he's explaining the duties of grihasthas. And there is explaining how the grihasthas must regularly, in the association of devotees, read the scriptures. There this word is coming, abhikshnava. Abhikshna means regularly. And there Prabhupada is explaining how one must read scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam again and again. In one place, Prabhupada says, hundreds of times. Why? Because the more one reads the same book, the more one will relish it, especially the Bhagavatam. Because every time one reads, what will happen? Yes, it's not the same if one is sincerely reading. If one is superficially reading just as a ritual, then it'll become boring. But if one is sincerely reading for pleasing Guru and Krishna with the right attitude, then every time one reads, one will relish it. One will get newer realizations, newer meanings. So even if one is feeling slightly bored, still one should read. Because if the more one reads, the more one will relish.
This is surprising. Aho, owner of rasa, sikkaha. This refers only to the devotees. For they develop rati, which becomes the sthai bhav. In that position, they can taste the rasa of Bhagavatam. Gyan yogis cannot claim this position. Prabhuji.
O auspicious persons, bhavukaha, you are most auspicious and all others are inauspicious. Right? So only the devotees who can relish rasa, they are most auspicious. Any questions on this? अरे वही हमने डिस्कस किया. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu we have discussed now what is rasa? Meloto, Prabhupada says, actually there is no proper word in English to describe rasa. A word which is somewhat expressing the meaning is mellow. वो तो translation हो गया. What is the definition? हाँ बोलो मनीष प्रभु बोलो. हाँ थोड़ा आगे बोलो. Relationship. What is the definition? Establishing loving relationship. ठीक है. Yes, that's correct. Pleasure that one gets in a relationship by which one continues that relationship, that work on and on. That is called rasa. So when we talk of rasa, it's basically a relationship, right? 5 types of rasas. What is it? Relationship. So anand, the pleasure comes from relationships. In one lecture, Prabhupada is saying, just like I'm speaking, Prabhupada says in a lecture, just like I'm speaking, I can speak alone, but if all of you are there, it becomes more relishable. So the pleasure comes from relationship. And also, Srila Prabhupada says, just like if you're told to stay alone in a room, how long you will be able to stay? All facilities may be there still. Yeah? इधर माइक दे दो. हाँ हाँ, तो इसलिए हम प्रयास कर रहे हैं. तो एस्टैब्लिश करने के लिए प्रयास चल रहा है ना. So now we understand theoretically. Theoretically, we understand what is our relationship. Jiva Smara Krishna Nitya Das. Theoretically, we know. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabanoy Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karoye Udoy. So this is the process to awaken that relationship. Now we only theoretically know. The relationship is always there. So just like Prabhupada gives that simple example, just like a child, a son, who knows this is my father, but now he's left the father. But it does not mean that he has forgotten the father. Relationship is still there, but now he's forgotten. So that is our position. So the relationship is always there, but now we have forgotten. We have forgotten. माता पिता कौन है? भूल गए. तो फिर इसलिए रोज हमें वही बताया जाता है. रोज वही बताया जाता है. कृष्ण पिता है, कृष्ण माता है. तो वही है. So by repeatedly hearing and practicing Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, as one becomes purified, then the relationship slowly awakens. ठीक है? क्या अभिषेक प्रभु? हाँ, अभी थोड़ा ही समझ में आएगा, धीरे धीरे समझ में आएगा. हाँ.
Here in second paragraph of purport, Prabhupada wrote that regulated knowledge involves a gradual raising of the living entity to the spiritual platform, and highest spiritual realization is knowledge that personality of Godhead is reservoir of all.
Where is that?
Second paragraph of purport.
Which purport?
Third verse.
Second paragraph. हाँ, क्या है?
So regulated knowledge, end of the
regulated knowledge involves a gradual raising of the living entity to the spiritual platform, and the highest spiritual realization is knowledge. So what's the problem?
Question is what is exactly regulated knowledge, and how means gradual raising will happen? And
so regulated knowledge is the knowledge of the Vedas. So that is what is explaining before that, right? Before that is explained about the Vedas. The Vedas are compared to desired tree. So that is regulated knowledge. Knowledge of the Vedas. So by acquiring the knowledge of the Vedas, then gradually one's consciousness will be raised. And that is the whole process, right? What the Vedas are speaking about? What the Vedas are speaking about? Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, Upasana Kand. So that is the knowledge. So by following that, gradually one's consciousness becomes raised, and ultimately one comes to the platform of Bhakti. And that is knowledge of the Supreme Personality. ठीक है? हाँ, Manish Prabhu.
Prabhuji, in verse 2, Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite. So Vyasdev is writing this verse. So why he is writing Mahamuni about him? Generally, one doesn't write about himself.
Correct. So what do you think? Then he's referring to whom? Yeah, so actually when Vyasdev is saying Mahamuni, he's not referring to himself. He's referring to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's the original speaker of the Bhagavatam. The original speaker of Bhagavatam is who? The Supreme Lord first spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam to Brahma, Chatushloki Bhagavatam. So therefore, he is the original speaker of the Bhagavatam, and that's what Vyasdev is referring to. Okay? Anything else? One last question.
Prabhuji, in the beginning, you were emphasizing how the process is not so easy, and one has to pay the price in this process. In this context, means in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it comes Susukham Kartum Avyayam.
Correct.
So what is the context there, and what is context here? Because there it says Susukham Kartum. It's it's very easily and happily practiced.
Happily performed.
Yes. So what difference of context is coming?
No, it's the same.
But
There's
there
no
it says happily performed.
So here also it is said happily performed. Just drink the juice. So simple. Just drink juice. Pibata bhavata rasamalayam drava samyutam. Just keep on drinking the juice of the Bhagavatam. Not relishable? Simple, right? If we give you one glass after another mango juice, season is yet to come, but if continuous supply is there, mango juice, you'll relish, na? Huh?
So we can say the process is difficult for insincere people like that. What?
Correct. Otherwise, the process is always relishable. The process is always susukam. The problem is not with the process. The problem is, yes. The problem is mine, my ahankar. That is the problem. Otherwise, process always susukam. ठीक है? हो गया? Good. Time for break. Hare Krishna. To the scene of the Bhagavatam, where Sutta Goswami is speaking the Bhagavatam to Shaunakadi Rishi. Text 4. Nemishe nimisha kshetre rishaya shaunakadayah satram swargaya lokaya sahasra samamasata. Once in a holy place in the forest of Naimisharanya, great sages headed by the sage Shaunaka assembled to perform a great 1,000 years sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. Okay. Okay, so now what is this Naimisharanya? Prabhupada, he indicates in his purport, in the Vaivavya Tantra, it is said that Brahma, the engineer of this particular universe, contemplated a great wheel which could enclose the universe. The hub of this great circle was fixed at a particular place known as Naimisharanya. Similarly, there's another reference to the forest of Naimisharanya in the Vara Puran, where it is stated that by performance of sacrifice at this place, the strength of demoniac people is curtailed. The Brahmanas prefer Naimisharanya for such sacrificial performances. So some more details have been given by Vishnu Thakur in his commentary. Please read. Who's in line?
Hare Krishna. Brahma created a wheel in his mind. The rim of a wheel is called Nemi. That place where the rim, Nemi, fell off, Shiryate, is called Nemisha or Naimisha. Vayu Purana describes this. This mental wheel created by me will be released. The place where the rim comes off will be favorable for performing austerities. Having said this, and having created the wheel brilliant like the sun in his mind and offering his respects to it, Brahma released that great deity, the wheel. The rejoicing Brahmanas offering respects to the Lord of the universe then journeyed to the place where the rim of wheel fell off. That forest became known as the Naimisha and is worshipped by the sages.
Continue, please.
Having done that, the Lord then spoke to the Lord then spoke to Gauramukha. The powerful demon was killed in that forest, Aranya, quickly in a moment, Nimisha. Thus, this place is called the Naimisharanya. It will be very suitable for Brahmanas in the future.
Okay, so he's giving two histories of the place. One is Brahma releasing the wheel and then the rim falling off in that place. So therefore, that is called Naimisharanya. And the second is the Lord killed this demon, Gaurmukha, in a moment, Nimisha. So therefore, that's also Naimisharanya. Continue.
By using this word with this meaning, it is suggested that one should reside in this place for quickly killing the enemies such as the material desire. In the beginning, Shaunaka and other sages were attached to Sakama Karma. Thus, the verse indicates they performed sacrifice for attaining Swarga. It is well known, however, that by hearing and contemplating various Puranas and other scriptures from Roma Harshana, they became inquisitive about spiritual life. By association with Sutta Goswami, Ugra Shravas, They developed a small taste for bhakti.
Okay, so that's how they develop a taste for bhakti. Continue.
When they took up bhakti, then their inquisitiveness became weakened, and performance of sacrifice for attaining Swarga became false. That is indicated in the following.
Okay, so we know that the sages of Naimisharanya give example for where this example is given. Bhagavad Gita. Chaturveda vajante mam jana sukritarajuna artho jigyasu. So this is given example for jigyasu. So as he's saying, they are in when they took up bhakti with the association of Sutta Goswami, then their inquisitiveness became weakened. So initially they were inquisitive for various types of knowledge, but that became less. And so initially they were performing the sacrifice for Swarga. So that desire also became less, and then their bhakti increased. Okay, so that's how from Sakam Bhaktas they became pure Bhaktas by the association of pure Bhakta. Again.
Kalim agatam agnaya kshetre asmin vaishnave vayam asina dirgha satrena kathayam sakshana hare. Knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, we are assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length transcendental message of the Lord, and in this way perform sacrifice for the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.21. The power of bhakti is indicated by the cessation of attachment to prescribed duties which arose in them from hearing Bhagavatam.
Continue.
There is another meaning to Swarga, however. Swarga means glorified Giyate. Ga in Swarga, Swar. Swargaya, who is praised in Swarga, like the name Urugaya, who is greatly praised, indicates the Lord. His loka is Vaikuntha. Therefore, Swargaya Lokaya means for going to Vaikuntha of the Lord. Animisha, not blinking, in this verse refers to Vishnu, because in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.21, quoted above, the sages themselves identify the place as Kshetresmin Vaishnave, a place of Vishnu. They applied themselves asata to performing karma, pious prescribed actions, satram, which were to last for 1,000 years, sama.
Okay, so in this way, these sages were performing the sacrifice. And yes, so all these words have been explained. Naimishe, animisha kshetre. So you can see Prabhupada translates animisha kshetra as the spot which is especially a favorite of Vishnu who does not close his eyelids. Animisha. So Vishnu does not close his eyelids. So Paramatma is always watching without even blinking. So we can't escape because he does not even blink his eyelids. So even for that fraction of second also, there is no question of escaping. Animisha kshetre. And then even Swargaya. So Prabhupada takes this meaning, Swargaya, the Lord who is glorified in heaven. Lokaya, and for the devotees always in touch with the Lord. So in this way they're performing the sacrifice. And then what happened? Fifth verse. Ta ekada tu munaya pratar huta hudagnaya satkritam sutamasinam paprachuridamadarat. One day after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Sutta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matters. So Prabhupada begins by saying, morning is the best time to hold spiritual services. Here again, Prabhupada writes, those who listen to the Bhagavatam may put questions to the speaker in order to elicit the clear meaning, but they should not be done in a challenging spirit. One must submit questions with a great regard for the speaker and the subject matter. This is also the way recommended in Bhagavad Gita. One must learn the transcendent subject by submissive oral reception from the right sources. Therefore, the sages address the speaker Sutta Goswami with great respect. Prabhupada speaks on this verse. Please read.
And the speaker, Sutta Goswami, was given his due respect. the Vyasasan. Here it is said, Sat Kritam. Sat Kritam means with due respects. The welcoming, receiving, Sat Kritam Sutam Asinam. The speaker must sit very comfortably. Sutam Asinam. Suk Sukha means certainly he should not feel any inconvenience. Then the speaking will go on nicely. Satkritam Sutam Asinam Papra Chuhu.
Paprachu.
Paprachu. Then the questions Idam Adrat. The question should be put not by challenging but Adrat with great adoration. I beg to submit. This is my question. Can you tell me like this? No. That is challenge. Very submissively. Tad vidhi pranipatena. The question should be put by surrender. If somebody challenges, he will never be able to understand. The question has to be very submissive. Here it is also said Adarat. You will find Arjuna was questioning Krishna, and at the end, I have heard like this. If you think that I am fit to understand it, you can please explain it. Similarly, Parikshit Maharaj also asking submissively. If you think I can understand, then please explain. This is the process of question.
Okay. Hmm.
Yes, this is very important. Therefore, we are insisting everyone to rise early in the morning. Even though sometimes we rise early in the morning, we compensate in other time. This should be practiced, you see. Reducing eating, sleeping, mating, that is spiritual advancement.
Sometimes compensation takes place in the class.
This is the test. The more you reduce, the idea is to bring it to nil. Just like Goswamis, they did it. Nidra Har Vihara Kadi Vijito. They conquered over sleeping and eating and mating. Conquered over. So our ideal is we are fighting with Maya. So the fighting, we will conquer over Maya when we see that we are not disturbed by these four processes: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. This is the test. Nobody has to take certificate from anyone else how he is spiritually advancing. He can test himself. How far I have conquered over these four things: eating, sleeping, mating, and that's all. That is the test. So it is not required that don't eat, don't sleep, don't, but minimize it, at least regulate it, try. This is called austerity, tapasya. I want to sleep, but still I shall regulate it. I want to eat, but if my, I must regulate it. I want sense enjoyment, so I must regulate it. That is whole Vedic civilization.
Okay, so that's the goal, like the Goswamis, but at least reduce it. Okay, fine. So now, in the next 4 verses, 6, 7, and 8, 3 verses, sorry. So in 3 verses, they are explaining the qualifications of Sutta Goswami, as a result of which they want Sutta Goswami to speak. So what are Sutta Goswami's qualifications? 6th verse. ऋषयो ऊचु त्वया खलु पुराणानि सेतिहासानि चानग आख्यातान्यपि अधीतानि dharmashastrani yanyuta. The sages said, respected Sutta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures famous for religious life, and in the Puranas and in the histories as well. And for you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. So here, 2 qualifications of Sutta Goswami have been mentioned. What are they? Yes, first one is anaga, free from all vice. And second one is akyatani aditani. So you have read and explained. Read and explained. So 2 qualifications are mentioned in this verse. Prabhupada writes here that a Goswami must be free from all these vices before he can dare sit on the Vyasasana. No one should be allowed to sit on the Vyasasana who is not spotless in character and who is not freed from the above mentioned vices. So what to do if one is not freed from all the vices? Okay, so at least one was sincerely trying. So at least one was sincerely trying to become free from all the vices and the wrong habits and everything else. That's one of the qualifications. Because as we know, if one is sinful, one cannot properly understand the transcendent subject matter. So to the degree one is free from sin, to that degree one can understand, then he can properly explain. Okay. Then the second qualification is to hear and explain them is more important than reading them. One can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. Why? How does this take place? One can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. Bolo. Teaching is the best way to learn. Good. Why? Yes, at least he is forced to hear. The speaker cannot sleep. Correct. Yes, that's correct. So when one has to explain, then one is forced to. Yes, very precise. So one has to go deeper into the subject, understand the subject matter oneself, then one will be able to explain. Correct? So if one is reading oneself just for reading, that's also good, but then one may read it superficially. But if one has to explain to others, one will be forced to go deeper, understand, assimilate. Prabhupada is specifically using the word assimilate. You know what's assimilation? हाँ, churning के बाद क्या होता है? Absorb. Assimilation means absorption. And there's one more point. What happens when one is explaining? क्या होता है question answer? तो उसके लिए भी प्रिपेयर करना पड़े. नहीं तो क्वेश्चन आएंगे तो पता. Another important point. Yes. Yes, very important. So when one speaks something, then at least one will feel, अरे मैं बोल रहा हूं लेकिन मैं फॉलो नहीं कर रहा हूं. ठीक है, बोलना आसान है, but somebody who's sincere, then he will think, at least I should try to follow this particular thing I'm not following. Everyone knows that Prabhupada told the story of the mother who brought the child to the sadhu. And what the sadhu told? So you know the story. Why? Yes, because he was not following. So that's what happens when one speaks. Then one will, at least somebody who's sincere will feel a guilt. Oh, I'm not following. Let me try to follow. So for all these reasons, explaining is good. Hearing and explaining. Then one will assimilate the knowledge more by hearing and explaining. The two pros of Shravana and Kirtan are of primary importance to progress spiritual life. Only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source by submissively hearing can properly explain the subject. Okay, text 7. Yani Veda Vidam Shreshto Bhagavan Badarainaha Anye Cha Munaya Suta Paravara Vido Vidhu. Being the eldest learned Vedantist, O Sutta Goswami, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead, and you also know other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. So here are another two qualifications of Sutta Goswami. What are they? Okay, that's one. What is the other one? Yes, Shreshta, senior most, Shreshta. That is one qualification. And the other qualification is Paravara Vida. Paravara Vida. So one who's conversant with physical and metaphysical knowledge. That is material knowledge, spiritual knowledge. So all knowledge. So he was conversant with all types of knowledge and he was the senior most. So these are two more qualifications of Sutta Goswami. So Srila Prabhupada writes here, one can sit on the Vyasasan only after being conversant in all systems of philosophy, so that one can present fully the theistic views of the Bhagavatam in defiance of all the other systems. What does that mean? In defiance of all other systems? Yes, so that one knows the comparative study of the theistic philosophy and all the other philosophies, so that one can properly explain why the theistic philosophies are better than the others. And that is why we find that Srila Prabhupada in the Chaitanya Charitamrita purports has presented so much Mayavad philosophy. Correct? Sometimes devotees joke that Srila Prabhupada presented more Mayavad than even Mayavadis may know. What is the purpose? To save ourselves and also to defeat them, to defeat the Mayavadis. So that is the purpose. So that's the reason why one should know the other philosophies also, so that one can prove the greatness of the theistic philosophies. So these are two qualifications in the 7th verse. 8th verse. Vettatvam saumya tatsarvam tatvatastad anugrahat bruyu snigdasya shishyasya guravo guhyam apyuta. And because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. So, what is the qualification here? So, there are two words here, that is Saumya and Snigdasya. Saumya is pure and simple, and Snigdasya is submissive. Snigdasya Shishyasya. So totally there are 6 qualifications of Sutta Goswami. What are they? In 6th verse, what are the qualifications mentioned? Anaga, free from all vice, and Akyatani Aditani. Then in the 7th verse, Shreshta, eldest, and Paravaravida. And in the 8th verse, Saumya and Snigdasya. So in total, 6 qualifications of Sutta Goswami have been mentioned. So in the 8th verse, purport Prabhupada is quoting Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasadu. The secret of success in spiritual life is in satisfying the spiritual master and thereby getting his sincere blessings. Not forced blessings. Sincere blessings. So the blessings automatically come. So just like yesterday, Sonas Giraj Maharaj was saying that why he remained in Juhu in spite of all the difficulties. Yes, so Maharaj very simply said that because I knew that would please Srila Prabhupada, therefore I stayed. So that's the secret of success. Very simple again. There's no big secret there. It's very simple. But again, the application is difficult. But then that's the ultimate secret. Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasadat. Otherwise, so many could have, otherwise, so many devotees actually left. So many devotees left Juhu because of so many difficulties. But then Maharaj stuck on. Even though there were other devotees who were saying, no, come now, it's okay. There's so many devotees were saying. But still, no. He was convinced this is what will please Srila Prabhupada. So he continued. And then further on, Prabhupada writes, it is essential, therefore, that a disciple be very much obedient and submissive to the bona fide spiritual master. So Srila Sutta Goswami fulfilled all these qualifications as a disciple, and therefore he was endowed with all the favors by his learned and self-realized spiritual masters such as Srila Vyasadeva and others. Okay, so because of that, because of these good qualifications, Sutta Goswami, what he got? Tad anugrahat. So he got the blessings. He got the blessings, the mercy of his spiritual masters, Gurovo. And they revealed that which is Guyam. Guyam. So that which is Guya, very confidential, everyone cannot understand, but that was revealed because of Sutta Goswami's wonderful qualities. Now from the 9th verse onwards, they begin to ask their questions. So we will recite the 9th verse. Tatra tatranjasayushman bhavata yad vinishitam pumsam ekantata shreyas tanna samshutam arhasi. Please, therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. This is the first question. Here, Prabhupada writes an important statement. Spiritual well-being is automatically followed by material well-being. The acharyas therefore give directions on spiritual well-being for people in general. Explain. Spiritual well-being is automatically followed by material well-being. Why? Bolo. Hey, Janardhan Prabhu is not speaking these days. In Bhakti Shastri, you would speak more. I think so that corner space is not so good. Oh, so merciful. Huh? हाँ बोलो नरे पे ए सुनो
Krishna says, Maya Yakshana Prakriti. So when the spiritual well-being is there, that means Krishna is there. And then Krishna, when Krishna is there, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Tatra Partha Dhanurdhara.
ठीक है okay, that's good understanding. What else? हाँ श्री गौरव. Okay, only problem is lack of Krishna consciousness. Okay, fine. Some other Shastric reference. Spiritual well-being is followed by material well-being. हाँ वही तो बोला ना.
Yudhishthir Maharaj time.
Huh?
Yudhishthir Maharaj, the divine ruler was there.
Okay, that's a good
example. The prosperity was automatically.
Yes, during Yudhishthira Maharaj's time, because he was following dharma, so there was a lot of prosperity. Famous Bhagavad Gita verse. ठीक है, I'm sorry. More specific. Ananyas chintayanta mam ye jana paribhasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam. Okay, Prabhupada's lectures on these verses, please read.
You have read. Not only you have read, but you have described. Description means you read something, unless you fully assimilate, understand, you cannot describe it. So two things. Simply reading will not help us. When we shall be able to preach the reading matter, doesn't matter whether in the same language or in my own language, it doesn't matter. That is wanted. Akhyatani aditani. Aditani means you have read and you have explained.
Okay, so that is regarding Akyutanya. Now this is regarding spiritual well-being and material well-being.
Spiritual well-being, that is our Krishna conscious movement. That if the society becomes Krishna conscious or spiritually advanced, the so-called material advancement will automatically will be there. There is no scarcity. For example, take for practical example, we have got about 100 centers. So we are simply engaged in Krishna consciousness business. So far our material necessities are concerned, we are not badly situated. We are living in a nice house. We are eating nice food stuff. We have got nice dress. And the devotees look very nice, bright faces. What is the wrong there? What is the wrong there? But they are not busy for earning money or going to the office or going to the factory or so many other sources of revenue. They are depending on Krishna and Krishna is supplying them. Krishna says, Yogakshamam vahamaham tesam nitya bhiyuktanam. If anyone is completely engaged in spiritual advancement of life, then Yogakshamam vahamaham. I take charge of Yogakshamam. Yogakshamam means what is not in possession to supply that thing. And Kshema means what is already possessed to protect or for welfare activities. So just like if a child is completely dependent on the father, parents, the parents has the sense that my child requires at this time this thing. They already there. He has got to bother. The child does not know to ask from the parents, but the things are there. Similarly, our Krishna, he is supplying everything, everyone. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. Actually, Krishna is supplying everything.
Yes. So therefore, the important point is that our focus should be on what? Yes, Krishna conscious, spiritual well-being. If you focus on the material well-being, will follow, not the other way around. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada would say, you just perform Krishna consciousness, preach, and everything will come. Krishna will provide. That should be our faith. Not that we try to take care of all other things and spiritual life goes in the background. So sometimes it happens like that. So devotees become busy with collecting things for survival. And then the basic, most important activity of preaching goes in the background. So then getting the things also becomes a struggle. But if one focuses on Krishna consciousness, one's own sadhana, and preaching Krishna consciousness, spiritual activities, if one focuses, then the material things will automatically. Prabhupada says, Krishna is feeding the elephants in the African jungles. Why he won't give to his devotees? So that's the way. Okay, fine. So now we'll just, you already have this handbooks, here, there. List of questions, we'll just show you the list of questions. So 10th verse is the characteristics of Kali Yuga. So you already know that, many times you've heard this verse. And so the sages are very much concerned about the people of Kali Yuga because they have nice qualities. And so therefore, they are asking all these questions. Okay, so these are the 6 questions. What is the ultimate good for people? This is in the 9th verse. Now that here some automation is here. Okay, so the answer to that is in 1.2.6. The second question is, what is the essence of all scriptures? That's in the 11th verse. And the answer 1.2.7 or in some other place. Third question is, for what purpose did Lord Krishna appear? And the answer to that is 1.2.34, and of course in the 10th canto. The fourth question is, what kind of pastimes his expansions perform in relation to creation? In relation to creation. So that's in the 17th verse, and the answer to that is 1.2.30. Then the next question is, what are the activities of his incarnation? So this is reference to the Leela Avataras. That's the 18th verse. And the answer is the 3rd chapter. 3rd chapter is talking about all the Leela avatars, and then Krishna is the Bhagavan's mind. And the last question is, to whom have religious principles gone for shelter after his departure? 23rd verse. And the answer is 1.3.43. So these are the 6 questions and their answers. And right, that's the end of the first chapter. Okay, we'll just see a few important verses and purports. Otherwise, essentially the rest of the chapter is these 6 questions. One important statement in the purport of the 10th verse, Srila Prabhupada writes, in Kali Yuga, the duration of life is shortened not so much because of insufficient food, but because of irregular habits. Irregular habits. By keeping regular habits and eating simple food, any man can maintain his health. So 2 ways to keep good health. What? Regular habits and simple food. So of course, here we have simple food. And we should keep regular habits. So then, in the 14th and the 15th verses, they're glorifying the Supreme Lord and His name. They're saying, because the Lord is so glorious, therefore we want to know more about Him. We want to know why He has incarnated, what is various pastimes. Why we want to know all that? Because of His of His wonderful qualities. 14th verse will recite. आपन्न संस्मृतिं घोरां यन्नाम विवशो गृणन् ततः सद्यो vimuccheta yad bibeti swayam bhayam. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. So this is the glory of chanting the holy name of the Lord. So if the Lord's holy name is so glorious and so powerful, then how much more powerful the Lord will be? Right? Of course, the holy name and the Lord are non-different. So, and Prabhupada writes that the name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. Therefore, the name of Krishna is as powerful as Lord Krishna himself. Nam Akari Bahudan Nija Sarva Shaktis. Nija Sarva Shakti. So all his energies are within the holy name because the holy name is not different from him. And the next verse also they're talking about the glory of the devotees of the Lord who have taken shelter of the Lord. O Sutta, those great sages who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord can at once sanctify those who come in touch with them, whereas the waters of the Ganges can sanctify only after prolonged use. So if this is the power of the devotees of the Lord, then how much more powerful the Lord will be? So that is why they are more interested in understanding about the pastimes of the Lord. That is the context why they're speaking these verses. One can be in the purport Prabhupada writes, one can be sanctified at once by the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord. Further down, to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord means to take shelter of the pure devotees. And the pure devotees are honored by the names Prabhupada and Vishnupad, which indicate such devotees to be representatives of the lotus feet of the Lord. And such devotees of the Lord are honored equally with the Lord because they're engaged in the most confidential service of the Lord, for they deliver out of the material world the fallen souls whom the Lord wants to return home back to Godhead. And such pure devotees are better known as vice lords. This is a very interesting word Prabhupada has used. Just like there are viceroys, in the British rule, there were viceroys, representatives of the king. So therefore, here Prabhupada has used the word vice lords. I don't think so you'll find it in the dictionary, correct? Vice lords. That means representatives of the Lord. Therefore, in the next verse, they're saying, who is there desiring deliverance from the vices of the age of quarrel, who's not willing to hear the virtues, glories of the Lord? So if such is the greatness of the Lord, who will not hear? Only a fool will not hear. Okay. And then the 19th verse, that's also an important one. Vayam tu na vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yashtanvatam rasagyanam swadu swadu pade pade. We never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with him relish hearing of his pastimes at every moment. Okay, please read this purport.
There is great difference between mundane stories, fiction, or history, and the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The histories of the whole universe contain references to the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord. The Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and the Puranas are histories of bygone ages recorded in connection with the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord, and therefore remain fresh even after repeated readings. For example, anyone may read Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam repeatedly throughout his whole life and yet find in them new light of information. Mundane news is static, whereas transcendental news is dynamic, in as much as the spirit is dynamic and matter is static. Those who have developed a taste for understanding the transcendental subject matter are never tired of hearing such narrations. One is quickly satiated by mundane activities, but no one is satiated by transcendental or devotional activities. Uttama Sloka indicates that literature which is not meant for nescience, mundane literature is in the mode of darkness or ignorance, whereas transcendental literature is quite different. Transcendental literature is above the mode of darkness, and its light becomes more luminous with progressive reading and realization of the transcendental subject matter. The so called liberated persons are never satisfied by the repetition of the words Aham Brahmasmi. Such artificial realization of Brahman becomes hackneyed, and so to release real pleasure, they turn to the narrations of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are not so fortunate turn to altruism and worldly philanthropy. This means the Mayavad philosophy is mundane, whereas the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental.
Hmm. All right. Okay, so here Prabhupada is writing that the subject matter remains fresh even after repeated readings. Anyone may read Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam repeatedly throughout his whole life. Whole life, what to read? Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, that's all. Not this book and that book. Whole life. And of course, Prabhupada says whole life also this is not sufficient to finish reading. So why the subject matter does not remain ever fresh? Why we get bored? Hmm? What could be some reasons why one does not feel the subject matter ever fresh? Okay, one is ulterior motives. What else? Okay, wrong attitude. Loss of diminishing interest. Law of diminishing interest. Prabhupada speaks about it. So what is this? Ah, correct. That's the nature of sense gratification. Correct. So in any case, huh? Yes, matsarta, enviousness. So you read one purport, which we have referred to many times. 4th canto, 30th chapter, verse number 20. 4, 30, 20. So you read it, and tomorrow we'll ask you what you understood from that. Tomorrow, day after. Okay. Okay, fine. 20th verse. Kritavan kila karmani saharamena keshava atimartyani bhagavan guda kapatamanushaha. Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked, he performed many superhuman acts. Okay, so Atimartyani, so though they appeared like Kapata Manusha, like ordinary human beings in disguise, but at the same time, Atimartyani, at the same time they perform superhuman acts. So therefore, they want to know about the Lord's activities. And then in the 22nd verse, they say that, so we think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. Okay, that's on the Bhagavatam purport. So the first canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Questions by the Sages. Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service. What? What thoroughly you want? The rest of things are quite simple. We have limited time. Hmm?
Conversation. So in our
So,
thing,
so see, the basic principle is that one must know something about the other philosophies so that one will be able to defend one's own philosophy, understand the greatness of one's own philosophy. Otherwise, if one does not know, then one may think, okay, what's wrong with my word? Not so bad. So therefore, one should know something. And therefore, we find that Srila Prabhupada took a lot of trouble to defy or to explain the superiority of our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy over all the other philosophies. So he had that whole conversation with Shyam Sundar Prabhu. Shyam Sundar Prabhu got some book with Western philosophies, and then he would be reading one philosophy, and then Prabhupada would refute that, and then the whole thing was compiled as a book. Which one? Beyond Illusion and Doubt. Yeah, earlier it was called, I think, the Dialectic Spiritualism. So Prabhupada took trouble to do that. Why? So that we know how to defeat these other philosophies and how to understand Krishna consciousness to be superior to all of them. So yes, so we should know something about those six philosophies, especially in India. In India, the Shad Darshans are quite famous. And so at least we should know something. And we don't have to go somewhere else to find it. You'll find it in Prabhupada's books only. Prabhupada has nicely explained all these six philosophies. You go to the prayers of the personified Vedas in Krishna book. You'll see Prabhupada has given all the six philosophies. In brief, he has explained all of them. That much is enough. To you? Okay. So now we go to the second chapter, Divinity and Divine Service. So first 11 verses, first 5 verses, Sutta offers his respects to Shukadev and Vyas and appreciates the sage's inquiries. 6 to 11, pure devotion to Krishna is the supreme dharma. 12 to 22, hearing Bhagavatam, the process of achieving pure devotion to Krishna. And 23 to 34, Krishna or Vasudeva is the supreme goal of life. Meaning of divinity and divine service. So divinity, who's divinity? Yes, the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada, many times you'll find in Srila Prabhupada's usage of words, he uses words because these books are not meant just for devotees, correct? These books are meant for everyone. Books are meant for everyone. And so therefore sometimes Srila Prabhupada uses words which are used by scholars, by Christians. So even in the Christians, amongst the Christians, they use these words, divinity, Trinity. So they use these words. Therefore, he's using divinity. So divinity basically means the supreme. And the process to achieve that, divine service. Okay. Let's go to the first verse. Okay, Ugra Shrava Sutta Goswami, the son of Romarshan, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them and thus attempted to reply. So now Sutta Goswami begins to reply, but then how does he begin his reply? So what is the first thing he does? The first thing he does is glorifies and offers respects to his spiritual master, Shukadev Goswami, seeking his blessings. So you can see that everyone has this common style. Before they write, before they speak, the etiquette is always to offer prayers and seek blessings. So when Vyasdev has begun, so he's doing the same thing in the first 3 verses. That's his Mangalacharan. And so here, Sutta Goswami is doing the same thing. Later we'll find Shukdev Goswami does the same thing. So everyone has the same pattern. So everyone thinks I'm dependent on the Lord and his devotees for their blessings to do this service. So no one is proud. That's the important thing. Okay. Let's recite the second verse. Sutta uvacha yam pravrajantam manupeta krityam dvaipayano virakatara ajuhava putreti tanmayataya tarabobhinedus tam sarvabhuta hridayam munim anatosmi. Okay, read the translation.
Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the great sage Sukadev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher caste, his father, Vyasadev, fearing separation from him, cried out, 'O my son, indeed, only the trees which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in response to the begrieved father.'"
So here it's mentioned how Shukdev Goswami yam pravrajantam. So while going away, renounced out of life, he didn't even undergo any reformatory ceremonies. Anupetam. Anupetam apeta. And so Srila Prabhupada in his purport is essentially focusing on the reformatory ceremonies and how one becomes a Dvija, then a Vipra, then a Brahmana, then a Vaishnava. So that's Prabhupada's focus of his purport. So we'll just see some other aspects. So here it's being mentioned that how when Shukdev Goswami, as we know, he stayed in the womb for how many years? Yes, some 16 years. And so obviously his father Vyasadeva was feeling great separation from him. So many years he's feeling separation. He's supposed to come out in 9 months, but he stayed for 16 years. So father was waiting so many years. Kab aayega, kab aayega? And as soon as he came, so the father was feeling so much separation. And so Dvaipayano Virha Katara, he was feeling so much of Viraha from his son. And so therefore he was following his son, calling out, "Oh Putra, Putra," he was calling out. So Vishwanath Chakravarti gives quite an interesting explanation of this. Okay, please read.
Sukdev Goswami, Sukdev had departed, leaving everything Pravajantam. Though he was nearby, Vyas could not catch him. Anupetam, he had not received his sacred thread. Apeta Krityam, Vyas called out the protracted words.
Protracted means Dirga.
O son, but
Putra.
not only his father had great affection for him. Padma Puran says, Enarchito haristena tarpitani jaganti api rajanti jantavastatra jangamaha stavara api. He who worships the Lord pleases all living entities. All moving and non-moving beings are controlled by him. Thus, even the trees lamented, being completely attached to Sukdev. Tanmayataya. The trees, since they were facing him, called out in the form of echoes, O son. When a person is attached to something, he is said to be Tanmaya. Thus, Strimaya means a person who is attached to woman. This affection for a person who resides in the mind of all living beings, like the attraction for the all attractive deity of the Lord, is not a material illusion. Thus, it is not a fault if Vyas seemed to lose his sense of discrimination.
So this is that verse, Yena Archito Haris, that's a verse quoted from the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu in connection to Shubhadha. So if you remember the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service, what are the 6 characteristics? You remember? Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha Lagutakrit,
Sudurlabha.
अरे वो तो लास्ट है, अरे वो लास्ट है, स्निग्ध, सुदुर्लभा, फिर उसके बाद
सांद्रानंद विशेषात्मा,
सांद्रानंद विशेषात्मा एंड श्री कृष्ण आकर्षण. So, so Shubhadha, so Shubhadha has 4 aspects. Anybody remembers that? Shubhadha has 4 aspects. Sarva Jagadam Prinanam, Anuraktata, then Sukham and Sadguna. So these are the 4 aspects of Shubhadha. So the first aspect is Sarva Jagadam Prinanam. So a pure devotee becomes dear to everyone. So he loves everyone and everyone becomes attracted to him. Sarva Jagadam Prinanam, that means the entire world becomes dear to him and therefore everyone becomes attracted to him. Anuraktata. So that's the point being mentioned here. So he who worships the Lord pleases all living entities. Just like the 6 Goswamis. Dhira Adhira Janapriya. So that's why here he's mentioning that because Shukdev also was like that. Therefore, even the trees were attracted to Shukdev. Even the trees were attracted to Shukdev. And therefore, as his father Vyasadeva is calling out, "Oh Putra," the trees were also feeling separation. And therefore, the trees were also calling out, "Oh Putra." So this is one meaning that he is giving. Because even the trees are living entities, they were also feeling separation from a great devotee like Shukadev. Okay, there's another meaning. Okay, continue.
Or there is another meaning. Trees as another form of Shukdev, Tan Mayataya, called out in echo, O son, to answer Vyasa, if I am your son, then you are also my son. Illusion is the cause of thinking. I am the father, you are the son. Who is the son of whom? Who is the father of whom? Enlightening Vyas about this truth, they hint, why are you bewildered? For establishing attachment to Shukadev, it is then described that he had entered into the minds of all living entities. Sarva Bhuta Hridayam Munim, by the power of his yoga. That being so, let him also enter my heart and speak the Bhagavatam through my mouth. He who can enter into the dull trees and pacify his father by answering back can also enter my heart and please the intellects of all the hearers by the Bhagavatam. Implied here is the rule that at the time of lecturing, other speakers of Bhagavatam should also meditate in this way.
Okay, so the other meaning is that Shukadev entered into the trees. Shukadev entered into the trees and he is also calling out, "Oh Putra." So Shukadev wanted to give lesson to Vyasadeva, who is father, who is son. Because in this life, I may be son, you are father. Next life, you may be son, I'll be father. So this father and son relationship is on the bodily platform. So why are you so attached to me? That's the lesson Shukdev wanted to give his father. Don't be so attached on the bodily platform. So that's the other meaning. And then is mentioning Sarvabhuta Hridayam Munim. So Shukdev was so powerful that he entered into the hearts of even the trees. So therefore, Sutta Goswami is saying, please enter into my words so that I can speak the Bhagavatam properly and my hearers can get benefits from this Bhagavatam. So that is the mood. So you'll find later in the second canto of the Bhagavatam, when Shukadev begins to reply to Parikshit Maharaj's questions, there also in the 4th chapter, you'll find Shukadev offers a series of prayers to the Supreme Lord before he begins to answer Parikshit Maharaj's questions. And there also Shukadev says, praise to the Lord that just like you have entered into all the elements of the universe, please enter into my words, decorate my words so that this becomes beneficial to everyone. So that is always the mood of the speaker of the Bhagavatam, that he thinks himself dependent on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And again, the same thing when Srila Prabhupada wrote the Markine Bhagavad Dharma, there also Prabhupada, what he says? What he says? I don't have ability to convert these people. You please give me the words, right? You give me the words by which these people's hearts can be transformed. So you find the same mood. This is parampara, same moods. Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada. We find in the beginning of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami, same moods. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, if you remember, 6th verse of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there Srila Prabhupada explains that how Rupa Goswami, he's thinking himself simply to be an instrument of the previous acharyas. And there Srila Prabhupada writes, this should be the mood of all the preachers within the Krishna consciousness movement. They should think themselves simply as instruments of the previous acharyas. And that's the correct mood which we find in all the acharyas. And that's how they are empowered to speak. Okay. Okay. So in this way, Sutta Goswami is glorifying Shukadeva Goswami in this verse and in the next verse as well, 3rd verse. Yasvanubhavam akila shruti saramekam adhyatma deepam atitirshatam tamondham samsarinam karunaya purana guhyam tam vyasa sonam upayami gurum muninam. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Shuka, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasadev, who out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge after having personally assimilated it by experience. By the way, Srila Prabhupada has given lectures on, I think so, every verse of this chapter. Srila Prabhupada has given lectures on every verse of this chapter. So please, you can try to go through these verses, these lectures of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada has spoken very beautifully on almost all the verses. Right, so here again, Sutta Goswami is glorifying Shukadeva Goswami. Swa Anubhavam, Swa Anubhavam. So by his Anubhav, by his experience. So just like we say, there is Pustakiya Gyan and Anubhavi Gyan. That is bookish knowledge or theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge. So here it is being mentioned, Anubhavam. This is Shukadeva Goswami. He realized the subject matter. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam is his realizations. Realizations of what? Akila Shruti Saram, the cream of all the Vedic literatures. That is what he has presented. And why he has done it? Deepam Atitirshataam. So that this Bhagavatam acts like a Deepam, torchlights. For what? To cross over. Cross over what? Tama Andam. So if there's a dark place, then you require torch to go across. So the material world is dark place filled with tamas, tama andha. So everyone is in ignorance. So in ignorance, one does not understand what is where. So it's a cause of misery, correct? If you enter a dark room without light, what will happen? Huh? Yes, there's fear of snakes and scorpions and ghosts. And so there's a lot of fear in a dark room. And if one enters a dark room, one may trip against something, hit against something, fall down, so many problems. So that's the nature of the material world. It's a dark place. So therefore, one has to come out. Tamasima Jyotirgama. So one has to get out of this tamas. So therefore, the Bhagavatam is helping us to come out of this, to cross this dark place, samsarinam, and out of his karuna, out of his mercy, compassion, Shukadeva Goswami has presented this Purana Guhyam, very confidential Purana. So in this way, he is glorifying Vyasa Sunam, the son of Vyasadev. He's offering his obeisances, Upayami, Gurum, Muninam, the spiritual master of all the great sages. Prabhupada is describing about the nature of the material world. Everyone tries to make a permanent plan for happiness, but everyone is baffled by the loss of material nature. Therefore, the materialistic world is called the darkest region of God's creation. Yet the unhappy materialists can get out of it simply by desiring to get out. The first thing is to desire to get out. Then one will do something about it. And then he's talking about how the materialists, they're drinking their own blood, just like the camel. But Srila Vyasadeva, being the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, could foresee the misuse of the Vedanta Sutra by unscrupulous men, and therefore he personally supplemented the Vedanta Sutra with the Bhagavad Puran. Srila Shukadeva realized it personally and then explained it. Next paragraph. Srimad Bhagavatam is the one unrivaled commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Sripad Shankaracharya intentionally did not touch it because he knew that the natural commentary would be difficult for him to surpass. But he says, but his followers did that. Foolish followers. So he's continuing his Mangalacharan in the next verse as well. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God in Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Okay, so Sutta Goswami is offering his respects to all these personalities. Please remember this, at least those who have done Bhakti Vaibhav should not make this mistake. Many speakers say Narayanam Namaskrityam. It sounds poetic and it rhymes with Narayanam. So, but please note, it is Narayanam Namaskritya. There's no ma there. So he's offering his respects to Narayan, Nar Narayan Rishi. Why specifically Nar Narayan Rishi? Yeah? Why specifically Nar Narayan Rishi? Huh? Where was this written? Badrika Ashram. So who's the presiding deity of Badrika Ashram? Narayan. So that is why he's offering his respects to Narayan Rishi. And Mother Saraswati, of course, Vishnu Thakur explains that this is not the material goddess Saraswati. This is spiritual Saraswati. So he says that all the demigods have their spiritual counterparts. And so it refers to the spiritual Saraswati and Vyasadeva, the author. So in this way, he's offering his respects to all these personalities before he begins to speak. And in the fifth verse, he is also appreciating and offering his respects to all the sages. Munaya sadhu prishtoham bhavadbhi lokamangalam yat krita krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. Okay, so he's glorifying the questions because they are Yat Krishna Samprashno. They are about Krishna, and so therefore the result is Lokamangalam. Everyone will be benefited by these questions. Prabhupada Purport talks about how everyone is asking questions from morning to evening, but then satisfaction of the soul can only be obtained by questions and answers on the subject of Krishna. So, okay, so this is the first part of this chapter where essentially Sutta Goswami is offering his respects to Shukadeva Goswami and other respectable personalities. Now, from the sixth verse, he begins to answer the questions. So, what was the first question of the sages? Yes, the ultimate goal for the people. And so that he is answering that question in the sixth verse, well-known verse. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. The supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service of the transcendental Lord Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Please read the purport.
In this statement, Sri Suta Goswami answers the first question of the sages of Naimisharanya. The sages asked him to summarize the whole range of revealed scriptures and present the most essential part so that fallen people or the people in general might easily take it up. The Vedas prescribe two different types of occupation for the human being. One is called the Pravritti Marga, or the path of sense enjoyment, and the other is called the Nivritti Marga, or the path of renunciation. The path of enjoyment is inferior, and the path of sacrifice for the supreme cause is superior. The material existence of the living being is a diseased condition of actual life. Actual life is spiritual existence or Brahma Bhuta existence, where life is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Material existence is temporary, illusory, and full of miseries. There is no happiness at all. There is just the futile attempt to get rid of the miseries, and temporary cessation of misery is falsely called happiness. Therefore, the path of progressive material enjoyment, which is temporary, miserable, and illusory, is inferior. But devotional service to the Supreme Lord, which leads one to eternal, blissful, and all cognizant life, is called the superior quality of occupation. This is sometimes polluted when mixed with the inferior quality. For example, adoption of devotional service for material gain is certainly an obstruction to the progressive path of renunciation. Renunciation or abnegation for ultimate good is certainly a better occupation than enjoyment in the diseased condition of life. Such enjoyment only aggravates the symptoms of disease and increases its duration. Therefore, devotional service to the Lord must be pure in quality, that is, without the least desire for material enjoyment. One should therefore accept the superior quality of occupation in the form of the devotional service of the Lord without any tinge of unnecessary desire, fruitive action, and philosophical speculation. This alone can lead one to perpetual solace in his service. We have purposely denoted dharma as occupation because the root meaning of the word dharma is that which sustains one's existence. A living being's sustenance of existence is to coordinate his activities with his eternal relation with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Krishna is the central pivot of living beings, and he is the all attractive living entity or eternal form amongst all other living beings or eternal forms. Each and every living being has his eternal form in the spiritual existence, and Krishna is the eternal attraction for all of them. Krishna is the complete whole, and everything else is his part and parcel. The relation is one of the servant and the served. It is transcendental and is completely distinct from our experience in material existence. This relation of servant and the served is the most congenial form of intimacy. One can realize it as devotional service progresses. Everyone should engage himself in that transcendental loving service of the Lord, even in the present conditional state of material existence. That will gradually give one the clue to actual life and please him to complete satisfaction.
Right. So this is Parodharma. For whom? Savai Pumsam. For all humanity. For all humanity, the topmost dharma, the topmost occupation, the topmost duty is what? Yato Bhaktir Adokshaja. Bhakti to the Supreme Lord, who is described as Adokshaja. So you all know what's the meaning of Adokshaja? Huh? Okay, one who cannot be realized by one's blunt material senses. Akshaja. Akshaja means eyes. So one who cannot be understood by the eyes or by any of the senses. Prabhupada gives another meaning. Huh? One who sees from above. Okay. Yes, one who cannot be described by all the alphabets from A to Ksha. Okay, so in any case, so Adakshari means one who cannot be described by one's blunt material senses. Atha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grayam indriye. So what type of devotional service? Ahaituki apratihata. So ahaituki means, now proper translates ahaituki as causeless. So this word causeless has two meanings. One meaning of causeless is one has no cause for performing devotional service, or one has no motive for performing devotional service other than to please him. Yes, other than love. So that is one meaning. The other meaning of causeless is there is no cause to beginning bhakti other than bhakti. The only cause of bhakti is bhakti. There is no other cause for bhakti. There are these two meanings of causeless. Srila Prabhupada, of course, focuses on the meaning of causeless as no other motive, no other material motive. That's what Srila Prabhupada focuses on. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada is speaking about the Pravritti Marg, Nivritti Marg, and very interesting point Prabhupada is writing in the purport. There, actual life is spiritual existence or Brahmbhuta existence, where life is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Material existence is temporary, illusory, and full of miseries. There is no happiness at all. How many of us are convinced of this? There is no happiness at all. बिल्कुल नहीं. भौतिक जगत में बिल्कुल सुख नहीं है. लेश मात्र भी नहीं है. How will you prove it? So if somebody asks you, how will you prove to a layman that there is no happiness at all? Of course, first, okay, at least whether we are convinced or not, but still, how can we try to convince others? Of course, the more we have faith in that statement, the more we'll be able to convince others. बोलो. हाँ, तो कुछ तो एग्जाम्पल दो, एक्सप्लेन. हाँ. ओके, ठीक है. हाँ, अभिषेक प्रभु.
Compare it with science, because science is trying its best to provide enjoyment, and but it keeps on giving new and newer problems. So in
Example?
Example, just like we wanted to avoid walking, so we have created vehicles. But now the problem of pollution is coming up.
So many problems. Okay, so yes, so as Prahlad Maharaj says, dukkha aushadam api dukkham. So we create aushad for dukkha, and the aushad creates more dukkha. So yes, that is material life. So material life means always miseries. At every moment, there is some misery or the other. So then somebody may say, no, but there is definitely some happiness, right? So if you eat one nice tasty gulab jamun, you feel happy, correct? Correct? What? But that is what? Okay, agreed, but at least for some time. Okay, agreed, but at least when you eat one, ठीक है, 2 सेकंड के लिए ठीक है, लेकिन 2 सेकंड के लिए सुख तो है ना? क्या? नहीं नहीं, वो ठीक है, वो क्रिमिनल वाला एग्जाम्पल ठीक है, लेकिन अगर कोई कहता है नहीं ठीक है, जब तक गुलाब जामुन जीवा पर है तब तक सुख तो है ना। हाँ नरे, उनको मैं दो।
That example can be given that just like in a desert, the one is very thirsty and he is given a one drop of water. So by that one drop of water, his thirst is all the more increased. Similarly, we are looking for the ocean of happiness and we are getting a drop of happiness. So it's actually increasing our thirst for the happiness. It's
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's only a drop which will increase the thirst. But somebody will say, okay, but at least as long as the drop is there, there is some happiness.
yeah, but that's called foolishness.
You may say it is foolish, but I think it is intelligent. वो जनार्दन प्रभु कुछ बोल रहे हैं आज।
That analogy is there where the person is hanging in the well with the rope being eaten by the rats, and one drop of honey is falling on his tongue. So he is just focusing on that one drop, but then he doesn't know that below there is snake and above there is tiger.
Okay, see, all that is there. See, below snake is there, tiger is there, and the rats are eating. All that is there. But as long as the drop is on the tongue, it is happy. हाँ? अरे वो सब ज्यादा स्पेकुलेशन हो गया। हाँ? Okay, okay, that is okay, but I'm getting the drop, na?
When while enjoying that object, um, there is still that feeling of fear of losing that object, and there is a desire to have it more. So that happiness is mixed with that fear and desire to have more. So then that is not real happiness. That is,
Okay, the fear will come later, but at least 2 seconds it is there.
in that there is hankering for enjoying more also.
ठीक है ना, फिर ठीक है, एक गुलाब जामुन खा लिया, 2 खा लिया, 4 खा लिया, तो फिर वो जब तक व्यक्ति खाता है तब तक सुख है। क्या पंडित जी कुछ नहीं बोल रहे, पांडुरंग पंडित? हाँ, ओके, सी, हाँ हाँ बोलो।
Just like you are getting happiness by for 2 seconds. Like you, many have tried earlier to enjoy. Like Americans, the hippies, they have tried. They have not only one gulab jamun, they had unlimited enjoyment. But ultimately, they were frustrated in their life.
नहीं, वो ठीक, वो बाद में होता है ना, वो बाद में होता है। See the simple, okay, one point. नहीं हम सॉल्यूशन नहीं पूछ रहे, हम पूछ रहे कि यहाँ पर सुख है या नहीं, ये हमारा प्रश्न। हाँ बस, he is convinced that there is happiness in the material life. हाँ उनको दे दो।
The happiness which is here, it's very little and perverted, but in spiritual world, that's the real happiness.
ठीक है, वो अलग बात है, वो स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड में जानता ही नहीं भाई, वो वहां पर है या नहीं वो भी मैं नहीं जानता हूं, तो क्या है वो दूसरी बात। Okay, simple point is, as Prabhupada is writing here, there is just the futile attempt to get rid of miseries, and temporary cessation of misery is falsely called happiness. That is the answer. So what is so-called happiness of the material world? Absence of misery. तो So basically what is, जैसे वो गुलाब जामुन का वही example गुलाब जामुन का. So why I'm feeling happy?
उतने टाइम के लिए गुलाब जामुन मीठा लग रहा है.
हाँ,
उतने टाइम के लिए गुलाब जामुन मीठा लग रहा है.
नहीं. Absence of misery. Misery क्या है? There's a hankering for gulab jamun. There's a hankering for gulab jamun. जैसे कि अगर आपको सुबह किसी ने बताया आपको आज प्रसाद में गुलाब जामुन है, तो क्या होता है? There's hankering, correct? There's hankering. कब खाऊंगा, कब खाऊंगा, कब खाऊंगा? There's hankering. So when the hankering is mitigated, hankering is misery, correct? That is a type of misery. So when that is mitigated, one thinks it to be happiness. The same principle is applied to everything. जैसे कि आप सोचते हो नया मोबाइल लेना है, नया मोबाइल लेना है, नया मोबाइल लेना है, नया मोबाइल कब आएगा, कब आएगा, कब आएगा? आ जाता है तो वाह, आई एम हैप्पी नाउ. Ah, so therefore, the point is, it is correct. It is correct. But it is simply so-called happiness because the soul is not getting satisfied. It is simply absence of misery, which is thought to be or imagined to be happiness. But the important question is, how can matter give happiness to spirit? Because who am I? Spirit. And everything of this world is matter. So how can matter give happiness to spirit? Correct. Therefore, it's an illusion. And what is the illusion? This is the illusion. Temporary cessation of misery is falsely called happiness. That is the definition of material happiness. Temporary, and that same example, वो criminal का. So underneath the water, he's suffering. When he's brought out, no suffering. That no suffering is interpreted as happiness. So this is applicable to everything. So similarly, whether it is buying a thing, purchasing a thing, or it may be sex life, it applies to everything. So there's hankering for that. And when the hankering is mitigated, one thinks it to be happiness. But then what happens? After some time, again the hankering starts. So that is how it is only temporary cessation of misery, which is thought to be as happiness. But it is not happiness because the soul can never be satisfied. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada is making a very important point further down in the purport. So therefore, adoption of devotional service for material gain is certainly an obstruction to the progressive path of renunciation. So therefore, if material gain, material things, material motives are mixed with spiritual, it is an incompatible situation. So the soul is looking for pure spiritual. So if we mix something material, what is happening? Soul doesn't get satisfaction. So again, example is given, just like sweet rice, very nice sweet rice. Put some sand in it. Oh, one may say, oh, it is still sweet rice. But will it satisfy? No. So the same principle applies. So therefore, the more the devotional service is pure, the more one will feel satisfaction. The soul will feel satisfied. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, therefore, devotional service to the Lord must be pure in quality, that is, without the least desire for material enjoyment. One should therefore accept the superior quality of occupation, superior quality, spiritual quality in the form of devotional service of the Lord without any tinge of unnecessary desire, fruitive activity. So we know the definition of pure devotional service. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam Jnana. This alone can lead one to perpetual solace in his service. This alone, nothing else, this alone. Only by pure devotional service, one will feel completely satisfied. Right. Yes. So that is the meaning of ahituki. And the other meaning of ahituki is bhakti has no other cause other than bhakti. Cause for bhakti is bhakti itself. There is no other cause. So somebody may say, how is that? Just like if you meditate on our own lives, each one of us, from where we got bhakti? Devotee, right? Then how can one say that there is no cause for bhakti? Huh? Devotee is the cause, correct? Devotee has bhakti, so that means the cause of bhakti is devotee, correct? He's passing what? Okay. So the cause of bhakti is? Okay, the devotee is bhakti. Yes, that's correct. Anyway, Vishwanath Chakravarti goes into a great analysis of why so many other factors are not the cause of bhakti. So anyway, we're not getting into all those details. But we will read one essential part of this. Okay, this is a very interesting point. Somebody may say, but how the devotee got bhakti? Okay, but ultimately bhakti comes from whom? Okay, but then ultimately it comes from Krishna, right? Krishna is the source of all bhakti. So then one should say that the Lord is the cause of bhakti. Okay, anyway, just read this part. Nor can it even be said.
Nor can it even be said that the mercy of Lord is the cause of pure bhakti. For it is non-final cause, making one search out of further cause. One cannot say that Lord's mercy is absolute without further cause, for then it would mean the Lord is unjust and prejudiced in choosing to give mercy without reason to certain individuals and not to others. However, if one says that the cause of bhakti is the mercy of devotees, it is not so incorrect. Though the Uttam Bhaktas do not make distinctions and are thus not prejudiced. One does not see the Madhyama One does see the Madhyam Bhakta making distinction between the Lord, the devotee, the innocent, and the demon. Thus, because the Lord is dependent on the devotee, the Lord's mercy follows after the mercy of the devotee. That is the correct conclusion.
Yes, so the one cannot say the Lord's mercy is the cause, because if we say Lord's mercy is the cause, then Lord should give mercy to everyone. Correct? Because Lord is omnipotent, omniscient, supremely powerful. He should be able to give bhakti to everyone. No? But we don't find that happening. We don't find that happening. So then somebody may say, oh, the Lord is prejudiced. So therefore the Lord says, sorry, I don't do this seva. Otherwise I'll land in trouble. So Lord says, I don't do the seva of distributing bhakti. So the Lord has appointed his agents. Who are the agents? The agents are Madhyam Bhaktas. So now somebody may say, oh, the Madhyam Bhaktas are also prejudiced. They are partial. No, that is not called partiality. Why? एक जन बोलो उनको बोलना they are of different categories, but they can give to everyone. What's the problem?
Because they have limited time and energy.
That's a good point. Because they have limited time and energy. So therefore, then they see who's favorable, who's not favorable, and accordingly give. That is not called prejudice. That is a natural limitation of the devotee. Yes. And so therefore the Madhyam Bhaktas make distinctions and then accordingly they give. And so therefore the Lord has entrusted the service of distributing bhakti to his agents, the devotees. And then he further explains, okay, continue.
How is bhakti said to be without cause? I had to come in this verse. Because the Lord's mercy is included in the mercy of the devotee. And because that mercy is included in association with devotees, and because devotee association is an anga of bhakti, bhakti is said to be without cause. Since an anga of bhakti causes bhakti.
Okay, so the anga of bhakti is association of devotees. And so therefore, bhakti is causing bhakti. So it's an anga of bhakti, association of this anga. And so therefore, bhakti is the cause of bhakti.
Moreover, the cause of devotee's mercy is but the bhakti present in the heart of the devotee. Because without the bhakti in his heart, there is no possibility of his mercy arising. In all ways, therefore, bhakti is the cause of bhakti. Therefore, bhakti is said to be without cause. From the point of view of bhakti, the devotee, bhakti, the Lord, and his mercy are not separate items. Even though bhakti appears by bhakti, thus self-manifesting, it does not negate the fact that bhakti's self-manifesting nature comes from the Lord. This bhakti cannot be prevented by anything, apratihata. This is mentioned in the following verse.
Madguna Shruti Matrena Mai Sarva Guhashaye Manogati Ravichanna Yata Gangamba Sumbudau.
Just as the water of the Ganges flow naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord.
Okay, so no interruption. That will be discussed later again in the Chatushloki Bhagavad, where the Lord says bhakti is sarvatra sarvada, can be performed by anyone, everywhere, and at all times. Now, one final sentence we will discuss. Towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada writes, this relation of servant and the served is the most congenial form of intimacy. Somebody wants to explain this? This relation of servant and the served is the most congenial form of intimacy. One can realize it as devotional service progresses. हाँ बोलो. हाँ हाँ वो माइक दे दो. हाँ बिल्कुल सही है. हाँ. Correct. Anybody wants to add to that? Okay, this intimacy will definitely satisfy the soul. So that's correct. So, as rightly said, in all the relationships, the dasya always remains. That is the fundamental relationship. So dasya is there in dasya is there in sakya, dasya is there in vatsalya, and dasya is there in madhurya. In all the rasas, the basic principle of a service attitude remains. No one is trying to enjoy the Supreme Lord. Everyone is trying to, yes, be enjoyed or serve the Supreme Lord. And to the degree we have that service attitude, to that degree there is intimacy in relationship. The same principle applies even amongst devotees here. So the more we are in a mode of enjoyment and what I can get from the other devotee, what will happen to the relation? Yes, weak relation, there could be frictions because it's a mode of exploitation. Mujhe kya milega? Then immediately the other person, he will sense it. Then the other person will think, Arey, this person is maintaining relation for what? To get something out of me. Then immediately the relation gets spoiled by that attitude. So the more there is selflessness in the relationship, the more there is an attitude of service. How can I serve you? How can I serve you? The more this attitude is there, there will be healthy relationships amongst devotees. And that is why there are perfect relationships in the spiritual world, because everyone is in the mode of service. And the same principle applies here. So the moment we get into the zone of मुझे क्या मिलेगा? Forget. Immediately the relationship will begin to get spoiled. Right. But the moment one is in the mood of Gopir, Batur, Padakamalayur, Das, Das, Anudas, the more one is in that mood, one will have congenial, intimate relationships in the association of devotees. So that is what is there in the spiritual world. Here is training for that. This is training ground. So the more we are in that mood here, then the more we'll be able to achieve that mood. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The OBA question for the first unit is the first question within the list of OBA questions. You have a list of OBA questions? Nahin? Huh? ठीक है. So it is the first question, which is essentially based on the first verse. It is based on the first verse. That is what you're supposed to write. In any case, so since you have not yet got the question, so in our next class, we will briefly discuss how to write the answer to that question. Okay.
That has been mailed already to the batch students. Only Rajat Pru's batch is remaining. I will send them. One thing is, just 1 minute, sorry, it is already late, but one thing I wanted to ask just, actually there has been little miscommunication between the BYU officials and Rukmini Vallabhpur, and that's why the dates little bit got two type of dates went to devotees. So we were planning on Monday, 26th, the last class, because to Nityanand Rishi tomorrow is there's no classes there. So we were thinking of keeping it on the Monday, because Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the preaching days for the voice preachers, and already Friday they're here. Saturday will also they will be here. So now, but the second date which was sent was Saturday as the last day. So Pruji, so I wanted to ask the devotees that what will be more okay? Means can we keep it on Saturday and finish everything, or you are sub concern and we keep on Monday? How many devotees are okay with keeping on Saturday? Same time, 10:30 to 1:45. Please raise your hand. Saturday, 10:30 to 1:45. Okay. So yes, Bruce, you have any concern with that time? Voice things, right? So how many devotees have problem with that time? Half it is happening. Monday, how many are okay? Means Monday or Saturday both okay. It's like that. Hmm. Hmm. How many have? Yeah, how many have? Bullen already 3, 4, 5. या आई नो दैट, वही वही वो चीज़ हुआ है, उनका टिकट एक्चुअली सैटरडे का ही है. ठीक है, एनी केस, सो वी विल हैव अ वर्ड विद द बीबी ऑफिशियल्स. बट मुझे एक जिन लोगों को मंडे से इशू है, एक बार फिर से हाथ उठाएंगे. सैटरडे को नहीं चलेगा मंडे, सॉरी, हाँ या जिन लोगों को सैटरडे को नहीं चलेगा मंडे को ही चाहिए, प्लीज हाथ ऊपर कीजिए. 1 2 3. सैटरडे इवनिंग, मॉर्निंग प्रोग्राम है. यस यस, दिन में मॉर्निंग में ही प्रोग्राम रहता है 10:30 से क्या वाला. ओके ठीक है. और ओके फाइन. एंड लास्ट मंडे को रखा तो किसको प्रॉब्लम है? प्लीज एक बार फिर साथ ऊपर कीजिए. मंडे को रखा तो किसको प्रॉब्लम है? ओके. प्रेजेंटेशन अब नहीं, हाँ, तो मंडे को जो क्लास होगा प्रेजेंटेशन के पैरेलल नहीं होगा. दैट विल बी इन द आफ्टरनून द क्लास. ओके, प्रेजेंटेशन विल स्टार्ट फ्रॉम ट्यूसडे. हाँ हाँ ओके, नो प्रॉब्लम. कैन ही अटेंड ऑनलाइन पूजी वन ड्यूटी? ओके ठीक है. सो So devotees, one to devotees are there who have concern. Huh. Okay, sure. Our booklet has been mailed already and next dates are also mailed. नहीं हार्ड कॉपी नहीं दे रहे वो लोग. जिसको जिसको चाहिए पर्सनली बोलिए उनको. मंडे होगा. नहीं सैटरडे नहीं हो पाएगा. So Monday will be the class. Still one final discussion. I will send you the message confirmation. Hare Krishna. मना किया आप हरिभवन को बोले आपने.
Hare Krishna. Those who doesn't have this attendance fingerprint, na, please you can give that print.